Hello and welcome. Oh, where am I? I'm over here. Maybe I should stand over here. Hey, welcome into the channel. Looks like I need to move my camera a little bit. We are live here on YouTube. Welcome everybody who's joined us. And I'm just gonna give this a second to give everybody a chance to jump in here. And I gotta just adjust my camera a little bit here. I think I've left it on manual focus since yesterday, which I'm gonna just try and leave it there and see how it does. And you guys will let me know, I'm sure, if it's not good. Okay, so let me just step over here and we'll wait for a few people to show up. Hello to Douglas Biggers and Will K saying hello from New Zealand. Michael C says hello. Joseph Neal says hello from the UK. Jens Carlson says hello to the chat. Jacob Nima says hello. Kevin says hello. Wheelman Kentucky says hello. Positive Gene says hey. Trevor Dune, Kyle Hedinger, Sharon Idle, Kenny Roberts, Notare, Kathleen Burgess, Yankees, Guido, John McLaughlin, Edward Green, BDT, Keith W. Hello and welcome. Looks like we got about 40 people in here so far, and I'm about to start. Roosevelt Welcome says hello. Greater Retireland says hello from Dublin. Darren is hello from Newcastle. Gary says hello, and Dave Murray says hello. Did I do that one already? Angry Dad 1969 says, sounding good. Well, thank you, Angry Dad 1969. And now that I know who Angry Dad 1969 is, well, I'm thinking about it. Moderator. Okay, so, all right, we're over 100 people watching live. I guess I can get started. Let me fill you in on some information. Why don't I just take the mouse with me instead of me walking back and forth? There, now I can see. Okay, so, I got that one. Which way is it? It's that way. I got a few updates for you. Right? I just talked to you yesterday forever, and now there's a whole slew of new updates since we last spoke, so I'll keep you up to date. Bill, the gentleman who sent me his computer from South Carolina that ended up being the broken reset switch, and we replaced his stock Intel cooler with the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, emailed me this morning, said that his computer arrived as scheduled, and there was no damage or anything, and he plugged it in, it's working great, and he says his thanks. So check that one, done. See, this is what you don't see on the other YouTube channels. These guys that don't work in tech, they can just build something and it's done, right? Oh no, not here. We gotta ship it, we better hope it survives shipping, and then if anything happens to it ever in the future, hopefully the customer contacts me because I'd like to stay in business, right? So that's going on. I spoke with a gentleman that joined me previously. His name is IL. Those of you remember IL. He'll be here Monday. We'll do a broadcast Monday at 1 o'clock. That's the goal anyway. And I'm gonna give IL some parts from a system upgrade I did for another client. They don't want the parts. And I'm going to make him earn it. He's gonna build his own computer and he'll keep it. He's never built a computer before. He's a super cool, super nice guy, and I'm looking forward to working with him on Monday. What else? I got an email from Corsair where I said, thank you for, you guys can, I said, just so you know, I made this video back in October of last year about why I use and recommend Corsair RAM and cases, because you guys always have such good customer service, because they had emailed me and said the new reset switch was on the way in. And they wrote me back and said, we've been big fans of yours since the days of your radio show and your Tech Bets podcast with Mike Smith. I was like, oh, I didn't think anybody at Corsair knew who I was. So that's really cool, right? What else? God, there were so many things I want to tell you. I found a new song I like. If you guys like similar music, there's a new song by The Struts featuring Kesha. It's called Body Talks. And it's a very catchy tune with really great lyrics, but you gotta stick with it to the chorus. I wasn't certain when I was listening to it last night. I'm like, I don't know. But then the chorus caught in and I was, all right, I gotta hear that again. So check that out. Body Talks there's two versions. There's one where Luke, what's his name? Luke, anyway, the lead singer There's a version where he sings the whole song by himself, and then there's a version with Kesha. I like the version with Kesha better. So, what's his last name? Skiller? Skriller? No. Stiller? No. It doesn't matter. Today, I've got a bunch of work to do. Let's see. Just looking in the chat. Savage Texan says, Monday is my birthday. Well, happy early birthday. I got an email. Remember I told you a guy in New York reached out to me. He's having some weird computer problems. It's a complex system, Core i9, like 64 gigs of RAM. It randomly blue screens. He's frustrated. He just sent me the FedEx tracking number. That's supposed to arrive Wednesday afternoon. I think I'll be filming with Mitch then, but at least I'll have it. Maybe it'll be the weekend before, or I don't know. I have to figure out what Mitch's schedule is and what we're going to do, because Mitch and I have to finish up the interactive build. Spiller? Is it Spiller? Is it Spiller? What's the guy's name? Luke? I'm sure you can Google it. He reminds me, if you guys are fans of Queen, you got to check out this guy, the lead singer of the Struts. It is like Freddie Mercury reincarnated. It's incredible. Keith W. has provided the link to the song right there. I wish I could play songs in my videos. I really do. Maybe I need to find some bands looking for attention that want their music played. I'm very picky with my music though, but you know, there's got to be some songs out there from unknown bands that I absolutely love. I just haven't heard them yet, right? I mean, statistically, there's got to be lots of them. Do I sell parts? I do not sell parts. Customers buy their parts wherever they want to buy them. They can buy them at Newegg or Amazon. I don't care. Wherever they want. I just put it all together. Selling parts requires a whole different side of the business, requiring inventory, taxes, sales taxes, quarterly sales tax payments to the government, working for free for the IRS as a deputy tax collector. Every time you sell something, you have to collect sales tax. I do not sell parts. Luke Skiller, is that his name? Skiller? Well, whatever. His name should be Luke Mercury. I mean, he's really, really good. He's very much like Freddie Mercury's long-lost child. He's an absolutely incredible singer. In fact, there's another video where Luke Spiller with the Foo Fighters live on stage, they brought him up to do Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen. And Dave Grohl for the Foo Fighters plays drums, and it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but it's not bad. And I think if Luke practiced at it, I think he'd be really, really good. I think he could be a good Freddie Mercury replacement for Queen. I wonder if Queen has even considered him, because they were using Adam Lambert, which I don't get that at all. I mean, he's good. Adam Lambert's good, but Freddie Mercury is a very unique voice. So to see somebody else come along, you think, well, nobody else will have a voice like that. Here comes this young kid, and he's obviously influenced by Queen. He behaves in a similar fashion, and he sounds similar, and he looks similar. So, and he's admitted as much. It's not his only influence, but Queen is one of many that he had, was inspiring to him. Anyway, good song. The link for it's in the chat. Let's see, is CCleaner safe to use for my laptop or PC that has an SSD in it? If you're running Windows 10, you really don't need CCleaner anymore. If you want to run it, you can run it. Just don't use the wipe free space option, because that's just killing your SSD that much sooner. But as far as cleaning the registry or cleaning temp files, it doesn't matter what your storage device is. It works fine. Do I like John Mayer? Not at all, not one bit. To me, John Mayer, and who's the other guy? There's a couple guys that remind me, they all sound the same to me. The red-headed, Ed Sheer, who am I thinking of? I can't think of the guy's name. And I know there's a big delay between what I say and when you guys hear me. It's right on the tip of my tongue, too. No, not a fan. Fernando Rodriguez has contributed $10. He says, hello, Carrie. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I live in Tucson. One day I'd like to meet you in person. Ed Sheeran. Yes, Ed Sheeran. That's what I was trying to say. So Ed Sheeran and these guys that just play guitar and sing, you know, that's their thing. Not a fan. Ever heard of Greta Von Fleet? I've heard of them, but I can't recall anything that they do. I can't say I'm a fan of that. There's a band, if I want to hear music that sounds like the 70s, I listen to a group called Cage the Elephant. It sounds like they're in the 1970s. Their music, I gotta be in the mood for it. It's good when I'm in the mood for it. That's all I can say. Someone's asking about a blue screen error. Blue screen errors are very difficult to diagnose remotely. However, feel free to ask in the chat room. There's a lot of very smart folks in here that could give you some tips. But what would help a lot would be if you had a picture of the blue screen you could share with everybody so we can read it. There's thousands of different blue screen errors you can get. So it's not as though I got a blue screen, what's the fix? There is no such thing. We'd have to know the details of the blue screen to help you. There's also a free support site called techguy.org, techguy.org, and they offer free support. It's all volunteer based, and expect a series, a long string of conversation as you answer questions, they ask you questions, back and forth until they get the information they need to provide some helpful information. The same thing happens here in the chat, but it happens a lot faster because it's live. Any reliability issues with Ryzen? No. No. AMD's bringing the Athlon back out. They're calling it a Ryzen Athlon, which I think is going to be like Intel's Core i3. I don't think it's anything to get excited about. Interesting that they're resurrecting that name. Do you think SSDs are durable now compared to a regular hard drive? I think SSDs have been far superior to hard drives since the first day they came out. I've never seen an SSD fail. Never. And the first one I installed was, I don't know, has it been 6 years? 6 or 7 years? You see me pulling them out of systems that I'm upgrading and they're too small. They work fine. Some of them are like SATA 2 and they're too slow compared to modern ones. But again, I think SSDs, and I think I've said this right from the beginning, they're superior to hard drives in every way. They're quieter, they use less power, they're more reliable, they're faster. They cost a bit more, but since day one, they made hard drives obsolete in everything but storage capacity. They're working on that. Thank you to my moderators, those people in blue that are, it looks like we've got a Troll Saturday today, which is fine, as long as I don't get distracted by it. Thank you guys for shielding me from that nonsense. Francie McCool says, my Samsung Evo 850 is 7 years old and it's still working just fine. Yeah, that's an unusual statement with a hard disk drive, like a mechanical hard drive. Their statistical lifespan averages about 3 to 5 years. I'll go on the high end and say 5 years. If you have a mechanical hard drive older than 5 years, you probably represent about 35% of hard drive owners. And I would say 65% of mechanical hard drive owners suffer a failure within that 5 years. But SSDs, I would say if you had a failure with an SSD, you would be in the bottom 3%. You would be in the 3% range of SSD owners. I'm just guessing based on my own experience. People generally replace SSDs because they become too slow or too small. Faster and larger SSDs become available at a fraction of what you had paid years ago, and you upgrade it. They're not replacing them necessarily because they've died. How often do you upgrade your personal rigs? There's no rhyme or reason to it, as needed. Someone says I should try the silicon power SSDs. I just ordered one because it was really cheap, but it hasn't arrived yet. And I don't have any plans for it. I'm just going to have it as a drive and inventory that may get sold off to a customer on a tight budget, or maybe used here in, you know, like test benches and things. So, but I've had other like flash drives and such. Well, I've had flash drives from Silicon Power, and I've had RAM from Silicon Power. It's all been fine, as far as I can remember. Edward Green's nailed it. He says hard disk drive failure is usually because of moving parts. And because an SSD doesn't have any moving parts, it's less prone to failure. It's absolutely true. Where there is movement, there is friction. Where there is friction, there is heat. Where there is heat, there is wear. And where there is wear, there is failure, eventual failure. It's inevitable. Okay, so what I'm doing today, and the reason why I started the stream, is I have a couple of machines that have been in progress that I've made videos on in the past. Such as this board here, where we put the Arctic cooler on, the H100, which is a separate build, which I got mostly done, but I have to put Windows 10 Pro on here, so I have to undo what I have to redo the operating system, install the drivers and the updates, which wouldn't take too long, and then the cable management, and then I can get that shipped out to Louisiana. This one's going here locally to Arizona, and I need to put this in a case. This actually started out as an upgrade, and by the time we were done, I said, you practically have another computer here, and a good one at that. Do you have use for another computer? Do you have a family member you can give it to? And he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, he did. So rather than upgrade what he has, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to just build him a new computer, and I'll take whatever parts we're carrying over from his old one into the new one, and then the old one he can give to the family member, and he'll get all the new stuff that way, right? He'll have a new optical drive and a new power supply on top of the new motherboard and everything that we did right here. So that's a win-win for everybody on that one. That includes a 6 terabyte Western, this is a Seagate Barracuda 6 terabyte drive. And then we've got an Asus DVD reader writer, and then we've got, what is this? A Seasonic S12-2, I guess. So all that, so this stuff right here, right up in your front of the counter, this all got to go in here. So why don't I get started on that? Newegg has been sold out of the Corsair 200R now for like a week, and there's some greedy SOB on Newegg trying to get, he's asking $199.99 for this case. Don't buy that. Don't encourage that behavior. Amazon has these cases. They're a couple more dollars. It's funny because these cases are more expensive now than they were this time last month. I don't know why. So, and then sometimes they run rebates too if you do that stuff. And I've always, you know, as far as Corsair goes, I've always gotten my Corsair and Seasonic rebates. With the ASRock board that had a rebate, they were fast. They sent the rebate check real fast. I don't normally fill the rebate stuff out because takes too much time. But if you include the rebates on it, they were like $45 or something, but now they're like $70, somewhere around there. Still a good value, but so I'm going to go ahead and remove the panels. Just set that over there. Sterling3371 says, "Happy Saturday, Carrie," and contributes $2 to the channel. Thank you, Sterling. Alright, we'll just put that panel there, this panel there. These are the instructions, and they can go right there. All the hardware, all the screws necessary. We call these, it's kind of confusing to call this hardware, but these are the screws that come with every, when you buy a brand new computer case, it'll have a bag or a box of mounting hardware, and that's how you attach your stuff in your case. Your stuff doesn't come with the screws because they don't know what kind of case you have and what kind of screws it requires, or if they're even color coded. So always look to the case for that. That's why it's important to keep all the old screws when you're building, because you never know when you're going to need them again. So not only do you need to keep them, you need to keep them somewhere where you can find them in a year. You know, you're not going to need them anytime soon. All right, just dump this out right here. I'll give you a couple of nylon zip ties. I think it's, anytime you're buying a good quality case, they all have one thing in common, and that is they'll include these nylon zip ties, which they do not have to include. They are not obligated to do that. And when you're buying those really budget cases, real cheap ones, real inexpensive, you won't get any of that because that would cost an extra penny. All right. I guess I'll put the power supply in first. This power supply was only $57.99 at Amazon. It's a pretty good deal for a Seasonic power supply. Comes with a power cable. It is not modular, and I specifically did not want a modular power supply for this customer because, as I've mentioned before, especially in offices, nobody knows where anything is. There's no case window, nobody's looking in here but the tech. And there's nothing worse than wanting to add something to the computer a year or two from now, and nobody knows where the modular cables are. All work has to stop. I effectively have to look up the power supply and which modular cables are compatible, order it, wait for them to arrive, and then reschedule to go back to the customer's location to complete the work I started days earlier. So, as much as people are fans of modular cables, including myself, they are not right for everybody or for every situation. So choose wisely. Think of the future. Don't just think of today. Oh, I've got this zip tied somehow. Like, oh, it's a reusable zip tie. I've never seen that before. I guess you push down on this and it releases it, so you don't have to cut it. What's that? I mean, that's what it looks like. Is that how it works? I think it is. Interesting. Pretty simple idea. Don't know why I've never seen it before. In other words, I don't know why other manufacturers aren't using that. It's actually not a really good idea to do this right now. I should keep it bundled up until I'm ready, but I just had to know. I had to know, man. All right, we're gonna put this in with the fan facing down. There's holes on the bottom of the Corsair 200R and a little filter back here. And what you're supposed to do in many modern cases have these dust filters. See this fan, it sucks air in here and then it blows air. It sucks air, anyways, get in front of the camera. It sucks air in like a vacuum cleaner, And then that air goes right through the power supply, right out these holes here. So if you are worried about heat in your case, the heat inside of your case, your power supply is not bringing any air in from your case or into your case. I suppose if you flipped it the other way around, you could suck air out of your case, but your cabling is going to face the wrong direction. It'll be up against the wrong side panel, and it looks ugly. And you'll also notice there's a sticker on one side here, and there's no other writing anywhere else on this power supply. So it's really intended to go face down. I'm going to put this filter back in. Filters are not necessarily good things. If somebody is going to ignore their filter, they're better off not having one. Because when the filter plugs up, then the power supply can't breathe, it can't get air in, and it'll overheat. If they wouldn't have had the filter, then they would just have a collection of dust building up in the power supply, which would take much longer to cause the power supply to overheat. So filters aren't right for everybody. Filters are only right for people who are going to, occasionally clean them. Not everybody does. Now, while I can use the screws that came with the case to secure the power supply, this power supply and many others comes with its own set of screws, and I prefer to use those just because. Don Beverly has contributed $2. He says, hey, Carrie, got here a bit late, but it's all good. Well, the DVR function is enabled, so you can rewind this video while it's live, just so you know. And look at all the nylon zip ties Seasonic gives us. That's wonderful. Again, not something you see with budget power supplies. Although for $57, that's a heck of a deal. We got a little Go Faster badge there that says powered by Seasonic. I can't imagine we're going to use that. Oh, the screws are kind of gunmetal color. They're not silver and they're not black. Don't think I like that. So I'm not going to use those screws. They should be black. I don't know why they did that with a black power supply. Seasonic, I'm very disappointed in your color blindedness. I have some different black screws that I'd like to use that are a little heavier duty than the ones that come with the case. And honestly, it probably doesn't matter. It probably doesn't have any effect whatsoever. It's just that it keeps my OCD happy. I know I got some screws in here somewhere. Let's see. Is this the screws? No, it's not down. Is that it? Nope. Is that it? Nope, nope, nope. How about that? Nope. So many to pick from, and I don't have the ones I want. Oh. Man, if I wanted to install a fan, I got enough screws there to... Oh, wait a minute. Is this... Nope. Nope. How about this one? Is this it? Ah, rats. Wait a minute. No. All right, well, I guess I don't. I thought I did. I must have already used them all. That's all right. It'll be fine. Really not that important. I've never had a customer once ask me, how come the screws are a different color in the back? But I've had plenty of people on YouTube chat do it. And they've never, these are from people who've never bought anything from me. So I guess, we are not going to use these screws. And we're not going to use those. So all we have left are just two types, a coarse threaded screw and a fine threaded screw. And these coarse threaded screws are just a little weak for my liking, so I guess I'm going to go back and use these even though they're the wrong color. Irving T has contributed €5, and he says, thank you for what you do for us. Thank you for what you do for us. Thank you, Irving. Thanks for your contribution. Okay. Need to get these zip ties out of the way. That one was facing the wrong direction. All right. Let me get this power supply in. If I can get the bag open. This is hard. Getting the little bag open is harder than installing the power supply. nothing here. I got nothing. All right, just doesn't matter. Can't get these screws out of the bag. I mean, I've never had such a difficult problem in my life. It's like they got something sticky on them. There we go. All right. So one screw is going to go right in there. It's a little offset on that corner. And then we're going to put one right down to here. And then we're going to put one in this corner right here. But these two top ones don't go in the corners. They go a little off to the corner and below the corner. Now that I have all the screws started, I can go ahead and torque them down. The order doesn't matter. You can tighten them in any order. And then I generally just torque them down a little bit more than what my torque range is on my screwdriver. I have my torque set pretty low, just to be cautious. And it's low enough for installing everything else, quite frankly. The motherboard, you know, if I decide to use this cordless driver on anything else, the torque setting of 3 is what I keep it on. This is an expensive tool. This is about a $160 screwdriver. And if you're only building one computer, you shouldn't be using an electric screwdriver. But if you build them for a living, and you want to avoid arthritis and carpal tunnel syndrome, you need to find, or you should find, a solution that will help you in repetitive tasks. Whew, that was hard. I need a break. Okay, all right. Break's over, back to work. Optical drive, let's pop that in there. That's easy to do. I guess ASUS gives you a driver with some, I don't know what this is for. I can't read it, the text is too small. I never use it. Customer can have it, but I don't use it. Put that in there. And I'll use a couple of these screws, the fine threaded screws, just to lock it in place. If you're not going to be moving the computer around, you don't need to secure these parts. It is locked in, it's not going anywhere. But I do have to load this into the car and drive it across town, and I just want to ensure that, that nothing's going to break free or go loose on me. And I've got the screws, why not use them? At least if the customer loses the spare screws I give him, I could always pull one out of the DVD drive and use it somewhere else if I need it, like in an SSD or something. Again, I give all the spare parts, I put them all in the motherboard box with the documentation. And I always tell the customer, put this somewhere safe, because it's nothing we're going to need anytime soon. It may be, you know, a year or two or longer. And I'm going to ask you for it. So please put it somewhere where we can find it. And most customers, they can't find it. They nod their head and they say, okay, and they put it away, and then I don't talk to them and they don't talk to me for a couple of years. And I go, hey, I need those screws, you know, and they're like, oh, I don't know where they are. So there is a big difference when you're dealing with a hobbyist versus dealing with a customer. So be aware of that. That's all I'm saying. Just plan for it accordingly if you're doing work for others. All right, we have the mechanical drive. I'm going to leave that out for right now. I want to remove this wire tie that's holding all our front port umbilicals in, so let's go ahead and take that out. And then I'm just going to pull all these cables through the other side. like to keep these wire ties. They're useful for me because I do a lot of work for people, and they bring me a computer and a bundle of wires, and when I give it back, I like to have all the wires all neatly wrapped up when I give it back. Customers like that. They go, "It's so professional. It's like it was when it was new." That's exactly what they sound like. If you guys have contributed through the TechVets donation page, $20 or more, I always offer to send you a case badge. And those of you who have in the last week or so, I haven't sent any badges out yet. So they're taking a little longer because I'm so busy, but I plan on getting them done this weekend and get them out in the mail on Monday. All right, I need the I/O shield out of the motherboard box, so let me just pick this up by the heat sink. We'll set it over here. I'm setting it down on a wooden chair. Wood is a really good, it doesn't conduct electricity, so I don't have to worry about electrostatic discharge when I set electronics down on anything wooden. Okay, here's our I/O shield. It's silver, unfortunately. I wish Gigabyte would have made that black. And I wish Seasonic would have made their screws black, but not a big deal. Again, the customer I'm building this for has never uttered anything about complaints of color mismatching. In all the years I've known him, I don't really think he cares, but it bothers me a little. Okay, so that's in. I'm not going to pull out the overhead camera because this is only going to take a minute. This will take me less time to install than the overhead camera takes to set up, so I'm just going to go ahead and install it. All the standoffs that the Corsair 200R comes with pre-installed are in the proper location, so I don't need to change anything there. And I'm just going to slide this, line up the I/O ports with the I/O shield, and then slide it in. And it'll sit right down on that post that I've demonstrated countless times on the channel. And now we're going to go ahead and grab the coarse threaded screws here in this bag, which are different from the screws that are used on the optical drive, so I can secure the motherboard into position. Do not over tighten these. We don't want to crush your motherboard. They're just there to secure it in place. So I normally recommend you guys use a mechanical driver. I'm an experienced technician. I've been doing this countless times. And I'm very familiar with my cordless drivers, so make your own decision, right? But if I was building my first computer, I would not be using an electric driver to do it. Oh, and I see this is one of those Gigabyte boards that has the standoff that has a hole in the board that the case doesn't offer. So I've got these old plastic standoffs that we used to use with motherboards. You know, I collected them because I didn't know how many I was ever going to need or when the standard was ever going to go away. Well, the standard went away a long time ago, and I still have a bunch of these. And you can buy these little plastic standoffs, but you can't just buy one that I'm aware of. I only need one. But I'll show you what they look like here. I had to go to my office and pick one up. So this is what I'm talking about. These are the little plastic standoffs. And this little pointy part here, this is going to go into the hole on the motherboard. And then this little nub motherboards used to have a little groove like the way you would hang a picture. And that's what used to hold your motherboard in. And you'd only use like 1 or 2 screws after that. So all you have to do is cut that little nub off. And now it's got a little flat base that will rest against the motherboard tray without putting any weight on the motherboard. This is not necessary. You can leave that hole empty. But because I have them, I use them. And when I run out of them, I won't use them anymore. So all I'm gonna do is take the board back out. And this is the hole right here that I have issues with. So I'm just gonna plug it right there, just like that. And then I'm just gonna do this all over again. Put this back in. There we go. There, that's better. I want to make sure that all of my I/O ports are coming through the I/O shield okay before we secure the board in place. I want to make sure that nothing is blocking the holes. Sometimes there are these metal grounding straps that bend under, and when they do, it looks like the board's in from this side, but when you look at it from this side, you realize you can't plug anything into a USB or to your, network or HDMI. So you want to check and make sure that all the ports are fully exposed and accessible and nothing's blocking them. If there's something is blocking them, pull the board back out, bend the metal that you need to bend, and it'll usually be a grounding strap that's in the way. Okay. Somebody in the chat says Carrie is OCD. You know what else is OCD? Computers. So if you want to have really good success with the computers, you learn to think like computers think. And they're very literal, and they are very OCD. So is it that I'm OCD because of computers? Or is my attraction to computers because I'm OCD? I don't know. But it's not a bad thing either way. So it looks like this motherboard, we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws is all it's going to hold it in. You'll see I'm only getting the screws started. You can hear the driver, it just barely turns. Now that I have all 5 started, and again, you don't tighten all the screws down, so you can shift and adjust the motherboard to align all the other holes to the other screws you've got to put in. Now that they've all been started, I know it's aligned properly, and now I can tighten all the screws down. There's no specific order that you need to worry about. Just don't forget any. Make sure you get them all. Right about this time, I would have been done setting up the overhead camera, and as you can see, I'm already done, so that's why I didn't do that. And you can see me build this, configure this motherboard in a previous video, just a couple videos back if you missed that. One of my favorite questions has been asked in the chat, and that is, do I have to go to college to get a job working on computers? I think that's up to the person who hires you. If the person looking to hire needs a college degree or requires a college degree, then the answer to your question is yes. And if the person that is looking to hire doesn't care, then your answer is no. There are no laws or rules that require what's the word I want? There are no required qualifications by law. It's up to the individual business owner to decide. If you're self-employed and you want to work on computers, then just start working on computers. That's pretty much true of almost any business. All right, this is the little Q connector, it's called, and that enables us to take all of our front port cables and put them on this little Q connector for ease of installation. So what I usually do is I will run these cables in. Let's see, we're going to run them down here, just like that. And then I'll just take a minute to put them on this connector and separate them. They're all tangled up here, so this is a good opportunity to untangle for cleaner cable management later on when we get to that point of our build. See, that's power LED. Hard drive LEDs right there, so that one will go, get it backwards. Hard drive LED goes right there with the positive cable facing the edge. We're going to slide that down until it clicks into place. Below that is the power LED. That one's always fun to put in because Corsair splits these two cables to fit either a 2-pin or a 3-pin connector. So we make sure the positive one is also on the outside, facing the edge was what I mean, directly above the hard drive LED. So the LEDs go above each other. The positive cable above the positive cable, the negative cable of the other LED above the negative cable of the LED below it or above it. Then we have the power switch. Switches do not have a positive or a negative, so you can't plug it in wrong. You can plug it into the wrong place, but you don't have to worry about being upside down. And then finally, there's our reset switch. That goes right beside the hard drive LED and just below the power switch. So the switches go above each other, one above the other, and the LEDs go one above the other. Now that that's done, instead of putting each cable on individually here on this connector, all I have to do is take this one big connector and put it on here. One of the things I like the NZXT, what they do with their cases is they do it the other way around. They assume you've got a motherboard with a standard front panel connector. So they give you a little breakout connector to add to it if you need to split the cables out for a non-compliant motherboard. That's brilliant. I was trying to, yesterday I was asked about my feelings on virtual reality, and I was trying to think of examples on why I'm not so excited about it. Not yet. And a couple of thoughts as I was thinking about this last night occurred to me. One, the kids born 25 years from now are going to think it's pretty weird that you thought that you got so excited over virtual reality in its current state because it's terrible. But I already know that. I already know it's terrible. You guys that are excited about this stuff, it would be like we were so excited when we got black and white television, and you'd be like, really? You're excited about black and white television? That's what it's going to be. But here is the best way I can explain it. My issue with virtual reality is this. If you're thirsty and you take a drink of virtual water, you're still going to be thirsty. It will not quench your thirst one iota, and it never will. In the movie Ready Player One, the virtual reality works because they wear suits that have, that generate heat and cold and pushing and shoving, and it makes you feel what's going on in the virtual world. But if you can't feel it, it's like a painkiller, right? I mean, that's what painkillers do. They numb you. Being in virtual reality numbs you to a lot of senses. And what's the point? The reason why people need to be numbed from pain is pain hurts. But when you numb the pain, you numb a lot of other feelings. In virtual reality, there are no feelings. There's nothing to feel. So that's my issue with virtual reality. See, a contribution has come in. Let me see who that's from. James Valdry has contributed 10 Canadian dollars. He says, thanks to the wonders of Wi-Fi, my buddy and I are sitting in his gazebo having a few beers and enjoying watching the build. Love your channel. Can I come over? That sounds great. So you guys in Canada know this. This is hilarious. And also it's hilarious for people who don't live in Canada, or it's at least interesting. When Corey was here, I took him to the Walmart store, and he said, do you have any idea how cheap your beer is? I'm like, no. He goes, you can get, he's looking at the prices, you can get this 12-pack of bottles for $11. That's less than $1 a bottle. In Canada, that would be illegal. In Canada, you're not allowed to sell it for less than $1.25. But on the other hand, Canadian beer has typically got a stronger alcohol content than American beer. But everywhere he looked, he was like, wow, that's inexpensive. You know, a gallon of gas here in Phoenix runs currently about $1.80. And in Canada, he said it was $1.30 a liter. So almost twice the price for gasoline in Canada. So he was absolutely blown away by the prices of everything in America. He was like, everything is so cheap here. And I go, yeah, and that's why we're all entitled, because we, these Americans, we all feel like, give it to me. I deserve it. And then we just leave trash everywhere. We're pigs. Most of us are. Anyway, I was kind of amused by it and interested in the... Keith W. says they've introduced a minimum price for a unit of alcohol in Scotland. That's interesting. He says here gas is $1.10 a liter. All right, well if you figure I bought, what did I buy? 9 gallons, 9.5 gallons for, I don't know, $1.80 a gallon, whatever that worked out to. Corey calculated it out to be about twice that Canadian when you do the calculation to liters and the price per liter. But yes, there are states in America where the gas is more expensive. California, New Jersey, New York, the prices they're more taxed in those states. Norway is $2 per liter. Well, Norway is a very expensive place. I mean, of all the places to live in the world, Norway is one of the most expensive places to live. From what I understand, from what I've read on the internet, and we know that's all true. Sorry, did I say $1.80? I meant $2.80. My bad. Not $1.80. It's about $2.80. Not $1.80. No, it's not that cheap. So $2.80 times, say 9.5 gallons. No, it wasn't $1.80. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. It's $2.80. It's just under $3 here. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let me get back to work. Sorry, got distracted talking about my gas. So like I said, IL is going to come back Monday afternoon. He's never built a computer before. He's just an average, ordinary guy. He's not a computer nerd. He's not a computer guy. He uses computers, but he's never opened one up. And I made him a deal. If he comes back and builds a computer, I'll give him the parts. There are parts that I have left over from an upgrade from an office that doesn't want the parts. I don't want the parts, but they're good parts. I said, you build it, you can have the machine. So I have to buy him a new case and I think I have a used power supply. So I think I only have to buy him I'll buy him a DVD and I'll buy him a new case. So that'll run, it cost me a little bit. But anyway, it'd be totally worth it because he's a really cool guy. And it'll be fun to watch somebody experience it for the first time. You ever see somebody eat bacon for the first time? It's a great thing to capture on film. I'm just saying, this is one of those things you want to capture on film. A lot of alcohol in Canada is from state stores. Yeah, I think the thing that threw me, Corey told me there's a store in Canada called Canada Tire. I said, I've never seen tires called Canada. He says, well, I don't think they make tires. I said, well, they sell tires. He goes, well, I think they sell tires. I go, well, what kind of store is it? Well, it's basically a department store, I guess, or some kind of convenience store. But it's called Canada Tire. What does that got to do with buying bread and stuff? It's weird. All right. Let me just put the rest of these screws away here so I don't lose them. I always recommend using a magnetized screwdriver, and it helps you to pick up your screws. So I can then open the little baggie. I mean, I got all but 2 of them on one little swipe there with the magnetic screwdriver. Magnets do not hurt computers. Magnets used to hurt floppy drives and, floppy disks, zip disks, that sort of thing. And since we don't use that kind of technology anymore, there's no fear of the warnings that we used to say about magnets. You can ignore those warnings now. Unless, of course, you're still using floppy disks, in which case, stay away from magnetized screwdrivers and maybe just stay away from the rest of society while you're at it, because you seem to be doing a good job if you're still using that old technology. All right, let's get that USB 3 cable hooked up. That's gonna go, I'm gonna put that going here. Yeah, I think that's a good place for it. We'll just plug that in right there. Come on. It only goes on one way. There's no clip. I mean, there's a little keyway, if you will, a little nub that goes into a groove. And sometimes they click when they go in and sometimes they don't. I wish they would redesign this connector. I've never been a fan of it. It seems like they went backwards when they did this. Never force anything when you're working on a computer. If things are not fitting copacetically, if things are not going in with minimal effort, don't use too much force. Well, these parts are not fragile. If you exert too much force, you will break them. They are not indestructible. So chances are, if you're using a lot of force or you believe you need to use more force, you're probably doing it wrong. The magnets hurt a hard drive. The magnets are inside of a hard drive. If you ever have a bad hard drive, take it apart and see for yourself. If magnets are so bad for a hard drive, why is there a great big powerful magnet inside of a mechanical hard drive? Explain that to me. Somebody tell me how something so bad for you, for your data, would be a part of your data. Come on, let's use our heads here, folks. If you have an old hard drive, do yourself a favor, especially if it's old and useless or broken, do yourself a favor and take it apart. It's one of the best ways you can learn. And then you'll know. You will know. All right, all I need to do right now is hook the front port audio cable up. That's going to go right here in this corner, and it only goes in one direction. Let's just go ahead and put that on there. It's, again, only going to fit in one place, and it only goes on in one direction. Not rocket science. I could probably hook this rear fan up, and I will hook up the front fan on this too, because I'm going to put that GTX 1080 in. You'll notice if I'm not putting in a discrete graphics card, I don't hook up the front fans. There's no point in it. All you're doing is bringing in more dust, and a fan is a moving part. What did we talk about with moving parts? They have friction, which generates heat, which generates wear, which then leads to eventual failure. So this becomes a support call. So I don't want to turn that on unless I need it on. So by having a graphics card here, or if we had a bunch of hard drives, more than one, then I would want some air blowing over those ideally. You don't want any of these little wire ties inside of your case. Even if you're like, if I'm not going to use this fan, I'm still going to replace that wire tie with a nylon zip tie. Because these little wire ties, as they age, they get brittle. And then they're just like a bare piece of wire floating around in your case. And one day when you move your case, or somebody's cleaning and they move it just to vacuum around it or something, it can get grounded out between the motherboard and the metal back here, and it can fry your whole system over something so stupid. So just be aware of it and choose wisely. I have a fan header, looks like right up here, so I'm going to plug this in right up there, just like that. And I'll wire tie this here a bit later, and we'll make it look pretty. This is our big motherboard power connector, the big 24-pin connector. I'm going to try and route this as gracefully as I can to make my wire. When I go to do the wire management, I don't want to have to unplug things to go around cables, so I want to just go around cables now, right? So you understand me, what I don't want to do is I don't want to take two of these cables like this. You see these cables I'm holding? I don't want to shove that in between them like that, because that's going to make my cable management impossible. So take the time now to make sure every cable runs its own route independently, and it doesn't go through a series of other cables unless you absolutely have to. You know, sometimes you don't have a choice, but if you have a choice, choose wisely. I think that's going to be the running theme for today. There's only one place this connector fits, and it only goes on one way. It's pretty hard to screw it up. And several of you right now are saying, well, if anybody could screw it up, I'm your man. No, even you couldn't screw this up if you're of that belief. There, I don't know if you heard that click. Now, looking through the series of cables, I need the 8-pin CPU power connectors go way up in this corner. That's a little bit of a tight fit with the big cooler here, but you've seen me do this before, and be patient. Enjoy your build. Chances are when you're done, you're gonna want to build another one right away. So try to slow down and savor this whole process. It's like playing a game. A lot of people ask me if I play video games, and one of my favorite video games to play is to build the video game machine. You know, it's to build the computer. That's the game I like the best. And it's a game I can win. All right, now there's 2 clips here. I'm sorry I'm not giving you guys close-ups today. This is live and I don't have a cameraman. One of these days I'll get a camera guy. Once I get rich, or find a sucker who wants to work for free, like me. I'm starting to think I'm running my business incorrectly. I'm starting to think I need to be running it as a religion, honestly. I think the way I run my business as a service to the community rather than as a money grab, and because of I'm an ordained minister with the University of Sedona in metaphysical sciences, I am authorized as a minister to have sermons. This would be considered a sermon, and this would be considered our meeting place. It's according to the IRS. I wouldn't change anything I'm doing. There would be no preaching any more than I normally do. But it would be completely different tax benefits to me if I did that. So I have to talk to my tax guy and find out if I'm crazy or if I'm onto something, because the taxes are killing me. Can't see what I'm doing. Here's what I'm gonna have to just, I'm gonna bring this down so I can see. I'm sorry, but you guys probably can't see it anyway because I can't see it. I don't know how you could. When I got those degrees in things from the University of Metaphysics in Sedona, I didn't do it for business reasons. I did it because I'm genuinely interested in metaphysical sciences and quantum mechanics and things like that. So, but now it occurs to me, I haven't been really taking advantage of the fact that that could really help me, I think. There it goes. I can feel it going in there. Car-ey, religion is the cause of all the world's problem. I agree, but you have to understand that not all religion, right? I mean, if you think about it, you guys worship technology. You're here as a congregation. I mean, this isn't a far stretch. Because you enjoy technology, right? As people enjoy religion. And I convey the ideals and community service, very similar that a religion does, and try to help the community and try and help others. And I'm not this money grab business, right? That's the main difference. I'm not out there charging as much as people will pay. And anyway, I just don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's as genuine of a religion as any other. It's not a scam. I mean, if you would call that a scam, then you would say religions are scams. So I think it qualifies, but I just need to check. We worship you, Car-ey? No, you don't want to worship me. That's a big mistake. Hey, Catherine Anna Hauserman is back. It's good to see you again, Catherine. I could have used your help the other day. I had to piece together a system for somebody. I'm getting spoiled. I asked Catherine to do it for me. It's funny because sometimes I correct Catherine. I let her know that, you know, don't throw an operating system in there, because I'll sell the operating system to the customer for far less money than what they're going to pay at Newegg or Amazon. I can't just sell it to anybody, or I violate my license with the distributor. But if you buy a computer from me, I can provide you a much discounted Windows 10 Home or Pro, much cheaper than you can buy elsewhere, and it's legal. You know, you get a product key, sticker, everything. So anyway, just so you guys know how that works. All right, I think it's 1080 Ti time. Oh yeah, let's put this in here, and let's put this, no, that we're not gonna put in there. I guess we can put this in here, and that. These are Velcro wire management thingies. We got some stickers. I'll just throw all the screws in there. I'm gonna put these nylon zip ties away. Well, not away, I'm gonna put them out of the way. These are the spare parts to that Arctic cooler. They're gonna go in the motherboard box. This is that disc that came with the DVD that goes in there. This stuff goes back here. These more screws, case screws, all go into the motherboard box. Then I won't have to go hunting for them later. Sure, they might roll around in the box and I have to find one over there and lift up some stuff to find it, but I know they're in the box, and that makes life so much easier. So much easier. Nick Poverman says, I'm a Pastafarian. Yeah, I love Pastafarians. I think the Pastafarians are my kind of people. The thing about being a Pastafarian is you got to be very careful, because if you say it as though you're mocking it, then it's not considered a real religion. But if you're as serious about it as other people are about their religions, as ridiculous as Pastafarians are, as it is a sarcastic religion, it is no doubt a religion with hundreds of thousands of followers. And they believe absolutely preposterous things that are meant to be funny, but as long as you take it seriously, the US government says it's a valid religion. But the minute you acknowledge it as a joke, as a sarcastic comment on religion, you are no longer considered a religion. So be a smart Pastafarian. You can Google it. It's a very interesting concept, and it makes a very powerful point. But you believe what you want, be happy, right? Whatever you as far as I'm concerned, you can believe anything you want as long as you're happy. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I just want you to understand me. All right. Now, talking about the 1080 Ti, that's what I was doing. Guess I have to cut the tape. It's never been opened. Let's do that. All right, I've made an error in judgment at even bringing up religion. I do believe that you should be secure enough in whatever you believe to not feel challenged or made fun of, or even give a rat's behind what anybody else believes. And so you should not take offense to anything that's been said about religion. I think that the reason I mention it is to give people who didn't know about it, who might connect to it, something to look into. But I'm not here to sell it, and I don't care. That's all. It's just any other topic. But for one reason or another, people they're just insecure, and if for any reason you question, or not question, if you don't agree with somebody, they get upset. But because people agree with you doesn't mean you're right. It just means somebody agrees with you. And if you're firm in your belief, It doesn't matter if somebody agrees with you. And that's a part of the human condition. I just can't wrap my mind around why people behave that way. But anyway, back to the 1080 Ti. I do prefer EVGA as a manufacturer for graphics cards because they just have great service, great customer service. And it's because they make great products and have great customer service, you should rarely, if ever, need to contact their customer service. You get that? So they cost a couple dollars more, generally. Not a whole lot more, just a couple of dollars. And for that, you get peace of mind. Now, if you're more of a gambling type and you'd rather gamble and get a less, get a different brand for less money, I mean, go for it. Chances are it'll be fine. But if it isn't, then you may also be gambling with what kind of customer service you get. And that's the point of it. When I run a business, I don't want to gamble with my business. I need to make sure whatever I sell my customer, that the parts I select, those manufacturers are going to back me up if something goes sideways. EVGA has always done that. Corsair has always done that. So, and there's been a couple other companies, but those are the two you'll see most common here on my channel. I'm not really looking for the cheapest price. I'm looking for the best value, and that's a different thing entirely. These video cards, they come with power adapters. If your power supply inside your computer doesn't have the right connector, they should not, in my opinion, they should not include these. If your power supply doesn't have the right connector, you've got the wrong power supply. You shouldn't be trying to make a power supply work that probably shouldn't be powering this kind of a graphics card, the power draw that this has. Oh, wait a minute, there's something else in there. Ooh, there's a metal case patch, look at that. I've got autofocus off, so the camera is not going to focus on that. Do I like EVGA for power supplies? Absolutely. Some of EVGA's power supplies have a 12-year warranty. What does that tell you? I think one of the funniest things I saw was Seagate or Western Digital said they were reducing the warranty on the drives from a standard 3 years down to a standard 1 year. Or maybe it was 5 years to 3, but they were reducing it. And they said, why are you reducing your warranty? He said, because the drives are so reliable, we don't need to have the longer warranty. No, that doesn't make any sense. If the drives are so reliable, you make the warranty longer just to prove it, right? It doesn't cost you anything. So that's a blatant marketing lie right there. I mean, that one was obvious. Obviously, they were losing too much money in warranty, so they were reducing the warranty. That's why they did it. And then when they did it, the other manufacturer, there's Western Digital and there's Seagate. Typically, whatever one does, the other one follows. And that's exactly what happened. All the warranties reduced on hard drives about the same time. Now, let's get this thing out of here. You must remove all the plastic. It even says do not it says please remove, don't install it without removing that first. And there's another one here on the back. And I like that it has this graphics card has a back plate. This customer has finally come to the realization that his computer is very important to him. And all the money he didn't have before to buy a really good computer, he suddenly found when he realized how important his computer was to him. That it would make more sense that instead of hiring me every couple of years to keep building him a new cheap one, that if he bought one really good one, it would last him 2 to 3 times longer without having to call me to replace it again. So I got through to him. I mean, it only took like 10 years, but he got there, and I'm so happy for him. Michael C's contributed £5, he says. Keep brilliant live stream. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Michael. Thank you for your contribution. What processor is in this computer? This is an Intel Core i7 8086K. You're going to be seeing that processor a lot on my channel because it's limited edition. It hits 5 gigahertz faster than any other consumer-grade Intel processor has ever hit. And my customers often want the best from Intel. Many of my business clients don't even want to entertain the thought of AMD. And it's out of sheer loyalty. That's all it is. They just feel loyal. You'll find this more with the older generation than the younger generation. But maybe, we'll see, as the younger generation becomes an older generation, maybe they too will embrace that same loyalty. I don't know. We'll see. Catherine Anna Hauserman says 10 years. I think she's talking about EVGA power supplies. But if you look at some EVGA power supplies, Catherine, at newegg.com, you'll see that they're extending the warranty. Maybe they're just extending it, if you buy from Newegg, to 12 years. You have to click on the power supply link and it'll say as much right at the top of the page. So here we are. This is the 1080 Ti. It's really the best graphics card, in my opinion, that you can buy for the money today. You're looking about $650 to $750 at current prices here on September 8th, 2018. We just ordered one. It was $715. The customer had a gigabyte one. It was $649. And I said, if I was you, I'd spend the extra 65 bucks and get the EVGA. But if it's that, if money's tight, then, you'll probably be fine with the gigabyte. But if it was me, I'd find the extra. I mean, he's putting so much money into the computer. What's another $65 when you're spending $2,500? It's all perspective. So let's go ahead and get this installed. I'm going to lay it down right here like so. And I'm going to have to remove the second and third PCI slot covers. So back to my screwdriver. The economics in each country are very different and out of my control, and I don't live in these other countries. There's almost, 300 countries around the world. And so I couldn't tell you what the best value is in your country. I'm a dumb American, and all I know is everything about American costs and American culture and American economy. I couldn't tell you, as much as I am an Anglophile, I have no idea what the price comparisons are between here and England for similar parts and what parts aren't even available. I do know there's some parts in England they have that I can't get. So, bear that in mind. You're watching an American on an American channel when I talk about prices. What I say may not be true for your country. And I never claimed that it was, but it's sort of insinuated that what I'm talking about is where I live and what I deal with and what I pay and what my responsibilities are to my clients and what my taxes are and what my government does. And it's hard enough to keep up with that, let alone worry about what everybody else does. And Catherine, when she does, Catherine Anna Hauserman, who's a moderator here in the chat, she likes to make parts lists for people. And she even goes out of her way to find the right source for the country that you live in, so that she's not recommending parts that you can't buy. And I wouldn't do that. She's crazy. But God bless her, because she likes it. So if you guys are looking for a build, talk to Catherine and talk nice to her, because she didn't have to do it. She does it because she enjoys it and she appreciates the gratitude people offer her in return. So if you don't offer any gratitude, don't ask her. Okay, so here is, and when I say gratitude, I don't necessarily mean money, I mean sincerity. Okay, let's go ahead and put this in. Let's make sure that that little retention lever is in the open position. And we go ahead and slide this in here like so. Yeah, we got a 970 Samsung Evo in there with a Core i7-8086K with the Arctic eSports 1 cooler, and I believe 2 sticks of 16 gigs of memory, totaling 32 gigs. So you want to line the card up, make sure that you get it started first before you put any pressure onto it. Now that I've got it lined up correctly, I can go ahead and push it down. You should hear it click into position. And then I can put the 2 screws back in to secure that video card. Ah, it's getting away. We got a runner! I want to check the back side of the video card to make sure all the ports aren't being, that they're not too high or too low, that I can't plug something in without hitting one of the metal dividers. It looks good. And I don't torque those down just as far as that screwdriver takes it is good enough for me. This requires a lot of power. We have a 8-pin and a 6-pin power connector. And somewhere here we should have a cable with both 8 and 6-pin options. On one cable, you'll see there's 2 connectors, and we're going to use both of these connectors on this one cable. And I think I'm going to start with the middle cable right here. See how there's an extra 2 pins? I don't know how well you can see that. You're supposed to put this together, and then you get 8. But right now I got 6, 8, 6, 8, 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one in first right there. And I'll take the cable at the end, and I'm just thinking of my cable management. That's why I'm using the middle connector on the end, and I'll use the end connector on the opposite end, because I think it's just going to look better. They all deliver power the same. It's like when you're plugging a lamp into an outlet. Which outlet does it matter which outlet you plug it in? It doesn't matter, unless some of your outlets are broken. They all deliver power equally. So now this one, I put the little 2-pin connector on to make it a total of 8. There's a little clip that goes towards the bottom, and it will lock into position when I line it up correctly. There we go. And then we'll plug that in right like so. That's it. That is it. Now what I'm going to do with the rest of these cables is I'm just going to wrap them like so. Not doing it right now. And that's going to get wire tied right through the holes in the bottom of this case. And they're going to sit right there. So if I ever have to work on this in the future, and I hope I will, because I hope this customer buys from me again, or we do an upgrade, or we add more storage, whatever we do, if I need more cabling, I've got it right there. In fact, I couldn't do that anyway because I still have all of his storage drives to hook up, like this 6-terabyte Seagate Barracuda. Now, me personally, I have not discovered any real reliability difference between Samsung or Western Digital. Price difference, customer service difference, reliability difference, warranty difference. They're identical in almost every way, shape, and form. Performance, one says Seagate, one says Western Digital. They're basically the same product as far as I'm concerned. With the connectors facing away, you can use any of these 4 bays. I'm going to just use that top one, and I'm just going to slide it in until it locks into position. All right, we can test fire this bad boy now. We're ready to fire her up and do the smoke test. In the meantime, the rest of this stuff can go in here. There's no particular order of what part you should install before any others. So anybody who tells you you should always install this port before that part, don't listen to those people. You can build it any way you want, in any order you want. The whole point of that was made in the interactive build video, where Mitch lets you pick which parts you want to install in whatever order, and then he installs it in the order you pick, just to prove it doesn't matter. So keep that in mind. I need to get a power cable, unless I left it out here. Where is that power cable? It's around here somewhere. Here it is. All right. Helps to have some power. And then I'm going to grab a keyboard and a mouse, which I have out here. So let's make sure the switch on the power supply, this switch right here, make sure that's in the off position. We're just doing that for safety. So I can plug that in like so. And then I'm going to grab the mouse. This is the wireless dongle for the keyboard and mouse right there. And I need an HDMI cable, which I have. Did I leave it out? I did leave it out, good. I need to order some more of these. This is a really good deal. Amazon sells these. I think they're called twin vanes or something like that. And you get 2 HDMI cables. I think they're, what are they, 15 feet? Really inexpensive, really good deal. I really like the quality of them. When I was filming with Corey, I realized I needed a third one, so I better order some more of these before that happens again. I guess I've never needed more than 2. Twisted vanes, yeah, that's what they're called. Thank you, Bloodbath, for that correction. Yeah, I think it's 15 feet, if I'm not mistaken. You can go to Amazon, look up the Twisted Vanes HDMI cables. You get a pack of 2. But I like that they're woven in nylon on the outside. I wish I could provide some background piano music while you build computers. Oh, that would be awesome. I would love that. When will the Instant House Call winners be announced? Well, we want to give the video some time to be seen. So for 2 reasons. One, for the benefit of Instant House Call to obviously have people enter the contest, and for the benefit of the people who, you know, give them time to find it, right? So my guess would probably be about a week. I haven't talked to Corey about it, but I would guess a week. I think that would be fair. But it's Corey's giveaway, and Corey's the boss, and he will decide and he will choose the winners. But I think about a week, yeah. That's DisplayPort. That's HDMI. The HDMI, these little dust covers, the smaller dust covers are the HDMI, the bigger ones are DisplayPort. I've never used DisplayPort in my life, but if I go 4K, I'll probably have to at some point. All right, so let's power this thing on and see what she does. Oh, I guess I can hook this front fan up too while I'm here. Let's do that. And then all I have to worry about after that will be drivers for the graphics card, some OS. Oh no, wait, I'm gonna copy, because I'm gonna use Acronis and clone his current configuration over to this NVMe drive. And then I'll have to do all the drivers and stuff after that. Using my head. Yeah, that way he won't have to reinstall and reactivate all of his applications. I'm sure he would appreciate that. Okay, I know I have to have another fan header somewhere. Oh, I do. I've got a couple of fan headers here. I've got one right there above the graphics card. I've got one right here down by the front port I/O. And of course I've already used this one here, and then we've got 2 for the CPU fan, of which we're only using 1. So all good, all good. So I guess I'll run it down here at the bottom. I think that's gonna be the cleanest look. Let me just take a look. Yeah, that looks good. We'll just run this down here like that. And like this. And like that. All right, so everything is hooked up. I don't have power to the hard drive or data. I don't have power or data to the optical drive. I'm not worried about that yet. That's a formality. Very rarely am I gonna have any problem here. I just wanna make sure all of this works. If I have all this other stuff hooked up, it's adding more cables and mess. And if something doesn't work, then potentially it's because of something plugged in, right? So you want as few things plugged in as possible when you do your early testing, so that if things don't work, you have fewer things that could be the culprit. Let me switch you guys over now to the video input feed, and let's see if we can put me on camera. There I am. So this says no signal with the rainbow. That's coming from the video capture card, right? That's like when you turn your computer off and your monitor says no signal. That's your monitor telling you, not your computer telling you no signal. So I'm gonna turn this on, and when it gets a signal, we should see it. It's very quiet. Did it turn on? Yeah, it's lit up, fans running. I got no signal, but just be patient. Let's see what happens. Oh, here we go. There it is. So this is the build that I put on here when I built and set up the motherboard outside of the case. Like I said, I'm going to just clone his current OS and everything, his programs and everything, onto the NVMe drive. The way I'm going to do that, there's a couple of ways I can do it. I can make an image file using Acronis to an external drive and then restore the image to any computer. Or I can take his OS drive out and put it in a USB adapter or plug it into this motherboard and go drive to drive. But that sounds like a lot more work, and I don't think I can be bothered. I think I want to just be lazy. I mean efficient. I want to be efficient. Yeah, that's it. Here are all the specs on the drive, on the hardware we're using right now, if you're curious. So here's our CPU information all through here. The cache is on the CPU. Here's our motherboard information. This is our BIOS version, F8, which I think is the latest and greatest. Here's our memory information. It's DDR4, 32 gigs, lots of specs here. The serial presence device, or SPD, that's all explained here. We're in slot 1, slot 2 is empty, and we're in slot 3. There's all the specifications of the RAM. Some information on our graphics is included here. And let's go ahead and run Crystal Disk Mark and see how fast our drive runs. So Disk Mark 64, I always open the wrong file because my screen is about 12 inches diagonal. That's a little bigger than that, but it's very small. It's difficult for me to read. I gotta watch for the icons. I have to retrain my brain when I'm on video. So we're gonna check the C drive. We're gonna run all the performance tests here. And you can see what that Samsung 970 EVO does and why it's so expensive. These are all free portable utilities you can download. I've talked about them countless times in previous videos. And I never recommend installing these programs. Always use the portable versions. You can run them right off of a flash drive if you want to. And why don't you run it on your system now and see how yours compares to this one? Those numbers are incredible. Absolutely incredible. Think about this. So I have the Threadripper, right? The crowd-funded build that you guys funded with 3 M.2 drives in RAID 0 mode, and it gets about close to 6,000 sequential read. This is newer tech by only a few months, really, and it's creeping up on me, right? With just 1 drive. So RAID 0 is quickly becoming obsolete, at least for purposes of performance. If you're running a SATA-based drive, the most you can expect to get out of any SATA-based solid-state drive is right around 560 megabytes a second or less. That's as far as that interface can take you. You have to go to NVMe to exceed that. The drive is a 1 terabyte Samsung 970 EVO. So on the left side, you're seeing all of the reads, and once it completes that, it'll start going down the right side in the same order. People will argue over which of those numbers is most important, but it really depends on how you use your computer. For me, sequential reads and writes are very important because I'm moving huge video files, rendering big files, and I need that sequential read speed to be quick. So that's where my attention is generally drawn to. This is a really good rig. I think this customer should be very, I mean, look, if this rig was yours, wouldn't you be happy? I'd be happy with it. And it's dead silent. I'm gonna take my microphone right here. I'm gonna grab this mic. I'm gonna stick it inside of the computer, and I'm gonna try and be real quiet. I'm gonna place it between, between the cooler fan and the exhaust fan. So you're gonna hear some of the fan, but you're gonna hear it better than I can. Here we go. Pretty quiet. I'm telling you, the microphone is very sensitive. Whatever you guys heard, because I don't know what you heard, it was amplified because I just hear a very, very low hum. And when I put the panels on, I'm sure I wouldn't even hear anything at all. Okay, there's our end results right there. It's pretty impressive. Let's run the Heaven benchmark on it. What do you think? See what this 1080 Ti can do. I got my flash drive. And I can check my USB ports to make sure that those are working. I hope they're working. Heaven requires, this Heaven benchmark requires this C++ in both x86 and x64 versions. I don't know why, but for licensing reasons, they cannot distribute it themselves. You have to grab it yourself. So I just put it on my own flash drive so I don't have to grab it every time. They only take a second to install. And let's go ahead and put the Heaven benchmark on there. I'm going to be wiping this SSD out anyway, so I can pretty much do whatever I want right now before I give it to the customer. Let's close that. Let's open this. Hit run. And then what do we hit? F9, I think, to run the benchmark. Yeah, it's F9. I'm going to go ahead and remove myself so you guys can see full screen. Oh, I haven't loaded the video drivers yet. I got a little ahead of myself. Hold on a minute. Let me get out of this. This probably isn't going to impress anybody until I put the drivers on. Whoops. Oh, come on. Now it's like just sitting here loading. And that's a driver issue. So let's just go to the task manager and let's run that. Oh boy, the boys are excited. Well, that's not supposed to happen. Let's try it again. It's not coming up. Let's just, let's shut her down. Shut her down. That ought to fix it. Now it's off already. I'm gonna go ahead and yank the USB drive. Power it back on here. Oh, my power LED is not lighting up. So I must have the cable not on correctly. I'm gonna have to check that. Always check to make sure your LEDs light up. I hate that when somebody brings me a computer they built 4 years ago and the entire time the LED's been wired backwards and doesn't work. So I must have skipped something. I must have done something wrong. What did I do? Let me take that power LED out. Let's fix it right now. Yeah, I got it backwards. I don't know how I did that, but I put the positive where the negative goes and the negative where the positive goes. It doesn't hurt anything. If you're on the right 2 pins, you just have the polarity reversed, and the LED simply doesn't work. The D in LED stands for diode, and a diode is it's a device, it's a piece of electronics that only allows power to flow in one direction. Yeah, we're on now. And that's why when you put it on backwards, it doesn't hurt anything. It just doesn't work. All right, this looks better. I'm going to go ahead and restart it one more time. And now I'm going to grab this little Wi-Fi card I've got, because in order to download... Oops, my microphone fell off. Sorry, just realized. There we go. Now I'm going to put a Wi-Fi card on here because I need to download the driver for the graphics card. I want to grab the latest one from NVIDIA. And like I said, this little base... Oh, you guys can't see me. Here I am. So this is the Wi-Fi card I'm talking about, and this little base, you don't have to use this base. It won't reach all the way to the back if I use the base. I don't want to undo my cable management there. So you just take that off and we'll plug it in just like that. So I'll just leave the base up there. This is a TP-Link AC 1900 Wi-Fi adapter. We'll just plug it in like that. Windows 10 has drivers for it automatically. There's nothing I need to do. Let me just prove it to you. We'll go back over to that screen right there. And I should be able to connect to my Wi-Fi. We're already connected because I've used it before. And you know what? Edge will do us fine for this. We'll go to nvidia.com. NVIDIA drivers, whatever. Download drivers, that's what I want. And if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can follow right along with me on this. I just need to make my screen bigger so I can see it the way you guys can see it. We have a GeForce card. It is a 10 series. It is a 1080 Ti. There's other 10 series to choose from, but we have a 1080 Ti. For Windows 10 64-bit in English, we hit search. That's our driver, almost 500 megs. I mean, these things have gotten fat. I remember when they were just 180 megs. Remember those days? Hit the download button and hit save. And it's just going to take a minute for that to grab. Shouldn't take too long. I know it says an hour, but it's not going to take an hour. It should only take a few minutes. In the meantime, I'll just put myself here. We can keep an eye on it. That's very unusual that is downloading as slowly as it is. I expected it to sort of ramp up, and it hasn't. Oh, well, I mean, we're at 1%. It's moving, but yeah, all the other drivers were installed when I did the original build which you can see on video from, just click on my name on YouTube after this video, and then you can click on the videos button, and then you'll see all my previous videos in order of the day they were posted. If you go back 2 or 3, the most recent one that says 8086K on it is this build. Too bad Win 10 doesn't install NVIDIA drivers automatically. Yes, they do. You're just not going to get the latest one, but they absolutely do install the drivers automatically. If I would have gone to Windows Update, which would have still required an internet connection, it would have grabbed whatever the latest version was they had at Windows Update. Restart the download, it will refresh the speed. It does seem to be having an issue. Something's not right. It should be downloading much faster than this. I've never seen it take this long, so no harm in restarting the download. Let's just cancel it and do it again. Save. See what that time climbs to. Yeah, it's got to be NVIDIA for some reason. Maybe their servers are getting hammered. But Windows Update is making the download slower. You know what? That's possible too. It's absolutely possible. Let's cancel and see if we can get a driver faster from Windows Update, because if we're not using an RTX card, we don't need that. I think that latest driver is for a game, actually, now that I think about it. They usually release driver updates when big AAA title games come out for compatibility and performance. Let's just try Windows Update, see what's going on there. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. It was downloading in the background. That's why it was so slow. Yeah, so good on you in the chat for that suggestion. Let's let that run. Carrie, you've inspired me to build my 7700K 1060 build. You've inspired me for 3 years now. Please make me a mod. I won't disappoint you. The mod status is granted as I deem. So just continue to participate and continue to be a loyal viewer. You know, when I recognize your name, when I see you often enough, I will make you a mod. But I'm not going to do it at this moment. A person in the chat is asking, let's see, Loic Cattle Start says, hey Carrie, when I start my PC it clicks like every 2 seconds and the screen stays black. It sounds like you've got a failing hard drive. That's what that sounds like to me. I hope you have your data backed up. Microsoft apps are not working. I would try reinstalling your operating system. A clean install is always the very first and least expensive way to go. And be sure that, he says it's not the hard drives, I've tested already. There's nothing on the system that can click other than the hard drives or fans. Something that's moving is clicking, just so you know. Yes, I will get a newer driver from NVIDIA, but I don't want to fight Microsoft updates. Let Microsoft Update put its driver on. That driver is almost a year old. And once that's completed, we'll reboot, and then I'll go grab the driver, the updated driver from NVIDIA, and it'll download a lot faster. Yeah. Asking which CPU you should ask for your build is like asking me which item on the menu you should order at a restaurant. I don't know you. I don't know what you like, and I have no idea what your taste buds, what signals your taste buds send to your brain and how you interpret what tastes good versus what doesn't. Nobody can do that for you. Nobody can taste food for you, and nobody can recommend a CPU for you unless they know you really well, right? If I know you really well and I get an idea of what your diet is, I could recommend something for you I think you're going to like, but I could be wrong. The same goes with CPUs. Asking people on the internet what CPU you should use, big mistake, my friend, big mistake. Do you think a sound card is worth it these days versus the sound that comes included with a motherboard? It depends on the motherboard and the sound chip included on the board. More expensive boards have better sound chips. It depends on what your definition of a good sound card is, and it also depends on what you're using the sound card for. There's no answer to that. Again, what you hear and what I hear are two different things. What you see and what I see, we're just assuming we're seeing the color red and defining it the same. We may not be. We may not be. So you have to decide that on your own. You have to listen to onboard sound and decide for yourself. Nobody can tell you if onboard sound sounds good or sounds better. Nobody can tell you fried chicken tastes better than baked chicken. You have to decide these things for yourself. That's what life is about. And I encourage you to live your life. Stop trying to avoid. It's like people are going out of their way to avoid mistakes, and yet mistakes are the whole point of living. If you played a game that you constantly won, there was no challenge to it, you wouldn't want to play the game anymore. So start living, my friend. Do some research. You know who you are better than anybody else. You know what you like. You know what your budget is. You know what your expectations are. You know how you're going to use whatever it is you're looking for. Use that information and Google and read articles and read reviews, both professional reviews and product reviews of products you are considering, and make the decision that meets all of your requirements that nobody could possibly know as well as you do. That's what I recommend you do. Not sure why this is pausing here. It seems like it's stuck at 9%. Something's unusual. Something is not normal. So let's cancel this. Let me see if I can address this. We are live. This is live. This is real. This is unedited and real. And I want to emphasize that. If you're an impatient person looking for highly polished, edited videos, I don't know why you're here. If you're interested in reality and what it's like to be a real working computer technician facing regular problems that paid computer technicians face and are paid to remedy, then you're in the right place. And this is a prime example of what I'm talking about here. This is not my internet. There's something else going on. And that's why I'm the tech, apparently. When I see comments in the chat as if they know what the problem is, it's slightly humorous to me, the oversimplification. But anyway, yeah. I just want to emphasize what you see here is real. It's not paid for by sponsors. It's a real computer that I'm building for a real customer that I'm held accountable and responsible for. And good luck finding other big YouTube channels where they actually do real work. They're out there. There's a few of them, but most of them are just tech enthusiasts, or they used to be techs and they're not techs anymore. They're just hobbyists. And I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying that what they do is different from what I do, right? And so you have your expectations set of what you can expect from me versus what you can expect from them. Oh, I don't want Cortana. I gotta close down the screen because I can't see when I'm blocking myself. So let's get that out of there so I can close that. There we go. So I'm not gonna hit the retry button. Instead, I'm gonna just go ahead and go to NVIDIA and try and grab that download now. See if we go any faster. I'm wondering if maybe my Wi-Fi card isn't connecting very good. But I know it's not my internet connection. It's awfully slow. You know what, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to move this Wi-Fi card. I'm going to put it back in the base. Joseph Sampson has contributed $5 Canadian. He says, we're still sitting in the gazebo watching you and having some beers. That's awesome. That is awesome. Let's see if this maybe improves my Wi-Fi signal situation, if that's what it is. We'll see. We'll find out in a second. I've just moved the, I forgot I turned the camera off there for you guys. I just moved the Wi-Fi adapter back into its base and plugged it into a USB port in the front where the cable can reach. Let's see if that helps at all. I don't know. I'm going to stop playing with it. I'm just going to let it run, and I'm going to address some questions here in the chat room, and we'll just chit-chat for a little bit here. Yeah, I could use the CD that's included with the NVIDIA card, but I want to get the latest one, so we'll just let it run. It's fine. I think it's a Wi-Fi issue, and I can't be bothered right now to figure that out while I'm live. Did you ship that Nuka-Cola PC to Australia yet? I probably need to have the parts and build it first, wouldn't you think? The guy just paid me the other day. I just ordered a case 2 days ago. Man, you guys are like on speed or something. Holy smokes, everybody's like little... The chat room is just like filled with a bunch of people that are just wired. Relax. Jeez. Take a breath. Do this. Go. Do that again. Just breathe in. Breathe out. Everything's okay. It's all going to be okay. Relax. It's all fine. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask me now, and we'll just let this download. Don't worry about it. Let's just talk about something here for a minute. You don't drink too much Coke. He drank 4 cups of coffee. Well, that explains that. I think you guys need to cut back on the coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. I don't care for it. I don't even hear this computer running. Did it go to sleep? No, everything's running. It's crazy quiet. For as powerful as it is, that is crazy quiet. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, we're only 10%, almost 10% there. We're getting there. I'm just going to let it run. I'm not going to try to fix it. Not right now. I'll do that off camera later. Do you have any idea what you will use the Threadripper PC for? Good question. I just was contacted by the folks over at CyberPower that the new version of Cyberlink, not CyberPower. The folks at Cyberlink have released, or are about to release, PowerDirector 17. So they've already given me a product code for that, and I will install PowerDirector 17 on the Threadripper, and I'll keep PowerDirector 16 here on the streaming machine that I'm using right now. And we'll see how that plays out. I also have the Arctic freezer to the TR version, and I will pull the Thready back out and replace that NMX cooler with the Arctic TR33 cooler, and we'll test it and see how it runs. And if all of that's good, then I can do the cable management finally, and then put the side panels back on it, and then wrap it up. So it's been kind of sitting in limbo because it's been so freaking loud, and I've been trying to wait for a solution for that. And then we'll see how it works with editing. And I think it may be my new editing machine. I don't know. We'll see. Catherine says, oh, you went for it. Yeah, Catherine, I took your advice. You know, I did struggle with that, with this particular, my first experience with Arctic, but Arctic really impressed me because they watched my video and they responded to me. And they get an extra star for that. Where I took away some stars, I gave them one back. Though they don't necessarily agree with me, they did respond and they did see and listen. And that's all I ask. You don't have to agree, but just listen to what I have to say. And if you don't agree after I've made my point, I respect that. And it does cool very well. This Arctic cooler does cool very well. Once I figured out how to install it, it is in fact easier to install than the Hyper 212 Evo. But I really don't like the little wires, the really thin, chintzy wires that hold the fan in place. And I would be very scared of shipping a computer out of state for fear that the fan is going to fall off. So I really need Arctic to find a more secure way to mount those fans. I really need Arctic to not give me a QR code and say, scan that for your instructions. They could have printed their YouTube video link on that same thing right below the QR code, and they did not do that. I think they need to do that. It's fine that they don't want to have printed instructions. Hey, you see what I do with printed instructions. Videos are great, but how would I know they had a video? I've never scanned a QR code in my life, and with an Android phone, you have to download an app for that. I'm not downloading another app on my phone so I can read their freaking instructions. So they heard all that. They got an earful, and I appreciate that they heard it. And that's when I decided to try the TR cooler from Arctic. Now that I understand the baseline of the installation and the kind of the whole concept of it, I'm gonna give it a shot. Just watched the Joe Rogan interview with Elon Musk the other day, and that was Elon at his best. Yeah, I just saw the news about that. I can't wait to watch it. I think the Nuka-Cola machine, no, they asked about Australia. But either way, the Nuka-Cola case, that won't be done for a couple weeks. Nick says there's a built-in QR code reader in Android. I've looked all over my Samsung S8, and I don't see it. I do see in the Google Play Store you can download an app for it, but it's nowhere I can find it, and I can't be bothered to go digging through a bunch of menus trying to find it. It's done. What's done is done. I'm not going to scan a QR code regardless. If it's not easy and obvious, I'm not doing it. Steve Larkin says, earlier you mentioned catchy songs. Check out Baby Shark. Okay, I'll check it out. If you were ordering the Threadripper parts now, would you have changed the case to the Nuka-Cola case? Yes. Yes, I would have. Because it's basically the same case I used with a really cool paint job. So you're not really changing the case, right? You're just changing the paint job, I think. Let's see what the download looks like. Are we at 15% yet? I don't know. Place your bets. The world's slowest race. It's happening right now. Let's see. Let me go over to that feed. 20% almost. Getting there. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. We'll get it. Very good. Should be interesting to see the results with the Arctic cooler on the Threadripper build. Yeah, I'm very interested in it. Whenever I plug an HDMI cable from my PC to the TV, it sparks at the side. Is this damaging parts? It's a front HDMI port. That should not be happening. You're probably getting a static shock, is what you're seeing. You should ground yourself by touching something metal before you plug that cable in. And where it's hitting is on the grounding side, so it shouldn't be hurting anything, but it does concern me that it's sparking. What is the Threadripper doing right now? It's sitting on the floor of my office where it has been sitting, unless I pulled it out for videos. It sits on the floor, along with about 4 or 5 other computers. Remember, I'm a working computer tech, guys. I don't have time to sit around and play with computers. I'm busy working. They're paying customers in line waiting for me. This isn't a YouTube enthusiast channel like you're accustomed to seeing. This is a real computer technician showing you what it's like to work as a real computer tech, because I feel like there isn't any, or there aren't any big channels on YouTube showing what real work is done. But there are a lot of enthusiasts that show you some really bizarre stuff about liquid cooling and liquid metal and delidding and stuff. Corporations will never pay you to do that stuff, guys. If you want to be a real computer tech, if you want to get into that for a career, you won't be doing that kind of work. You will not be paid to do that kind of work. That's stuff only hobbyists do. And I think it's important to differentiate and distinguish between the two, between a hobbyist and a professional. And that's reality. That's the real world. And that's what I intend to show on my channel. And if you don't like that, you're in the wrong place, man. Coop YU says, says, congrats on 200,000 subs. Carrie, you've earned them. Well, thanks, Coop. I appreciate that. Jazz Sinclair says, this has quite rapidly become my favorite channel as I'm a former technician and I feel all the frustrations, pain, and joy of it all. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people that get into the business and they have a completely screwed up idea of what they're going to be doing for a living. partly because of these YouTube channels. I'm not going to put the sole blame on them, but they're entertaining and they're enjoyable to watch. And if you're a hobbyist looking for something to do, the things that they do are interesting, but they're not practical. A lot of what they do, some of the stuff they do is, but a lot of what they do is just simply not practical. But perhaps that's why their channels are bigger than mine. The reality of it is that the average audience watching YouTube perhaps doesn't want to be practical. But the fact that I've got as many subscribers as I do does prove to me, and it makes me feel better about YouTube, that there is at least a significant percentage of YouTube viewers who are interested in reality. They're interested in the business side of things. And if you're interested in seriously working in the industry, those channels don't do much to help you. So that's part of the reason why I make my videos. Quite honestly, if they did do this, I probably wouldn't be making these videos. I wouldn't need to. I wouldn't feel the need to. And again, it's not insulting anybody. I just feel like if I don't say it, then you guys wouldn't be able to distinguish it unless it was pointed out. Some of you would, but some of you wouldn't. So I only point it out just to make the distinction between what I do and what the big tech YouTubers do, and the difference between a hobbyist and somebody who is paid and held accountable for work. They're very different things. Let me put it to you this way. If you fix engines, if you like to work on your car in the garage, that's all well and good. Maybe you want to update your ECU, maybe you want to throw a turbo unit on there or a supercharger, you can do that. But let's say you work for a company that fixes school buses or ambulances. You think you're going to be messing around and experimenting? No, no, no. If an ambulance fails to start, if an ambulance breaks down in a life emergency, that's a lot of weight on the mechanic's shoulders to double and triple check everything you are working on is to manufacturer specification. You don't experiment, you don't push it harder, you don't make it rev higher, you don't change the cooling system, you don't do any of that. You follow the specification that is outlined by your employer and you follow it to the letter. If you don't, people die. Now in my line of work, if you work for a hospital and computer equipment goes down that people's lives depend on, that's usually there's backup equipment they can put in place, so it's not really the same tragedy. But I will say in business, money is everything. So when a business server goes down and all of their employees are being paid to be there, but none of them can work, all of their customers are trying to give them money, but they can't because the system is down, all the pressure is on you to stop everything you're doing, just like a fireman. Get over there as quickly as possible, get that problem fixed as quickly and as cheaply as possible so that the company can be operational and start generating profit again. It is very stressful. And putting a liquid cooler on is nothing they're going to have you do. It's not going to happen. They're not going to have you overclock. It's just, yeah, there might be some company somewhere with some wacky owner that wants you to overclock. But the corporate America, no, absolutely not. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be changing thermal paste. You're not going to, it's funny to me because it's so stupid. You wouldn't waste your time and money on something so pointless. But when you're a hobbyist and you enjoy that, it doesn't have to have a point. The point is that you enjoy it, and it doesn't have to make sense financially. And I don't think most people realize that. I didn't realize it. I was very naive when I went into the business. I had no idea the weight of responsibility that goes onto a technician's shoulders. And it takes a certain kind of personality to do it. It really does. A lot of people start, they get into the business and they get tired of the abuse. It's sort of a thankless position. What you hear a lot as a working tech is, nothing ever breaks, so why are we paying you? Or everything always breaks, so why are we paying you? After a while, people get tired of the abuse and they just change careers. So you really have to be of a certain kind of personality to get in the field. If by watching YouTube tech enthusiasts encourages you to get into the field, you're going to be sorely disappointed when you meet reality. And that's my motivation for making the videos, is to make that distinction clear so that you're properly prepared for what you're going to expect if you choose to go down that path. That's all. And it's much, much different when you hold accountability to somebody else. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them good. The other tech YouTubers, anybody who's into tech is okay in my book. I got no problem with them. But I think making the distinction between hobbyists and professionals is very important, especially to people thinking of switching careers or starting, perhaps they're young and they're thinking of what they want to do for a living. You should know everything that's involved before you take that, that plunge to understand exactly what you're going to get yourself into. And if all that sounds good to you, then you're made of the right stuff to do this. If it doesn't sound good to you, don't get into this, don't be a tech. Maybe you're better off, doing something else. There's a lot of other jobs besides tech that involve computers. Almost every job involves a computer these days. Yeah, Louis Rossman is a real tech YouTuber. He's the real deal. I'm not the only one, but both myself and Louis Rossman don't have the subscriber numbers that the big tech YouTubers have. That's just an unfortunate reality. People would rather see a cute kitty than learn something. But what are you going to do? That's just people. Red Dragon has contributed $2. He says they don't see the paperwork side of the business. Oh, that's an excellent point, Red Dragon. You're absolutely right. The paperwork. Oh, the paperwork, the documentation. Yes. Oh, that's a whole different beast. That's the part of the job I don't like. I think you'll find any job you do will have a part you don't like. And for me, it's the paperwork. Will I have shorter videos coming out? What I try to do, I realize a lot of people don't have the time or patience to sit through these long videos, but I don't have the time to edit out the little nuggets, because somewhere in here I will have said something, maybe just my views on virtual reality could have just been taken out and posted as a, however long I talked about it, 2 or 3 minutes video. But then I have to have the time to download the video, watch it, find that spot, take it out, and then render it and upload it. I wish I had somebody volunteer to do that. If you want to do that, be my guest. I'd be happy to let somebody else do it. I don't have time. If something occurs where I have time, I would go back and do that. But by the time I go back and do it, it may not be applicable anymore. So how are we doing here? We're only a third of the way there. We're getting there. Where's my silver play button? It's somewhere in the back office collecting dust. Feeling Tardy says, I watch both kinds of YouTubers. They each have their place as long as you know what you're watching. That's my point exactly. Exactly. I'd sooner stay a hobbyist that helps his friends. Yeah, I mean, you got to do what's right for you, right? No, so my mods are a little heavy-handed today, some of them. No, we don't. We do not ban anybody instantly. We always let somebody know if they've broken a rule, let them know, because they may not know. If it's really, really bad, or it's a second time they've done it, then you put them in a timeout. And if they do it again, then you ban them. That's the rule. Because some people come in here and you can't assume that they know the rules. And the rules are basically to be kind to one another. If you don't have anything nice to say nothing. Don't swear. There could be children watching. Be considerate of other viewers. They may not be like you. They may be children. And I don't want parents looking over their children's shoulder and seeing non-family friendly content on my channel and then not letting their child get the education that I offer here. We're here about education, we're here about help, and we're here about support. We all share a common interest. We all love computers and technology, and we should all like each other. Since we have so much in common, we should automatically like each other. We should not attack one another. That's lazy, and any idiot can do that. It requires no effort whatsoever. If you consider it an effort to be nice to somebody, then just don't say anything or leave. Do us all a favor. So I asked my mods to do as I would do so that I don't have to do it. And just give people the benefit of the doubt and assume that they just didn't know. Warn them. If they do it again, time out. And if they do it again, ban them. Thank you for all the work you mods do. I really appreciate you taking care of that. It's hard for me to work the cameras and the switchers and do the work and talk to you guys and watch the chat. It's a lot for one person to do. So I appreciate you taking that burden off of me. If they say something obnoxious, they get timed out without warning. Yes, if it's clear that it's over the top, then time them out and let them know. And if they do it again, ban them. Yeah. Catherine says, I'll make you another parts list. I don't need any parts lists right now, Catherine. I'm good, but I will call on you when I do. You can rest assured. Thank you for keeping this clean. I really like your videos. I hope my son watches them with me when he's older and able to understand. Well, that's what I'm trying to do here. It's, it's not just kids that can benefit from the education, although it's good to get them in there early if they're going to get interested in it and set them off with the right information. Correcting wrong information is much, much more difficult and time consuming than teaching somebody right from the start. And that could be at any age, but more likely than not, it happens at a younger age. I think it's awesome. It's such an amazing computer dude like you has so many supporters to make these videos extra awesome. Nate, again, I agree. Who would have thought, right? When I made the videos, I really made them for nobody but myself. I said, this is what I want to see on YouTube. And I've not done any marketing or anything to try and boost my channel artificially. Everything is growing organically through word of mouth. I don't know how people find me, maybe through searches or video recommendations based on some YouTube algorithms. They say, well, since you watch this, you'd like this. I don't know how people are finding me. I really don't. That old expression, build it and they will come, is basically what's happened here. Because it's not a major source of income for me, I do it because I enjoy making the videos. The IT business is what finances this, and the contributions that come in from viewers also finance this. There's so much money in camera equipment, microphones, cabling, memory cards, tripods, tripod heads, green screens, the list goes on and on and on and on and on, that the expenses to make the videos better, to get them in HD, to stop using the in-camera mic. If you guys are with me from the beginning, you've seen a lot of growth, and it's very expensive. All this camera equipment stuff is expensive, especially compared to what YouTube pays. I make about 0.007 cents for each subscriber every 30 days. It's about what it works out to. It works out to between $1 and $2 for every 100 hours of video watched. So if you're watching a video like this that's, say, 3 hours long and you skip through it, only the actual amount of watch time counts. So if you've only watched a total of 11 minutes of my video, I'm paid for 11 minutes. I need to make $1 for every 100 hours, basically, of watched video combined every 30 days. Well, it's paid out every 30 days, which breaks down to about 0.007 cents per subscriber. But of course, subscribers are not the majority of my viewers. The majority of my viewers, obviously, if you look at the number of views and look at the number of subscribers, it doesn't add up. Anyway, if every subscriber I had watched one of my videos when I released it, then that video would instantly go to 200,000 views. But these videos go to about 3,000 to 8,000 views, and then they kind of mellow out. So that means the subscribers are mostly inactive. I think it's an interesting item that people subscribe and then don't do anything. They primarily don't watch the content when it's released, at least not right away. But if they did, money would be a lot better. Can you imagine if I could get 200,000 views on a video I just released, like in the first 48 hours. It's never happened. The money is good extra income. It's not really extra income when each camera is $1,000. The tripods are $100 each. The memory cards are $100 each. The tripod heads are $150 each. The computers that I use to edit run about $1,400. The internet connection, which I pay for anyway. The microphone's a $500 microphone. The rechargeable batteries, the battery charger, the batteries for the cameras, the battery charger for the cameras. Those have to be replaced after about a year because they won't hold a charge anymore. Yeah, it's for the $1,400. It cost me about 4 times that. Like this build right here that I've shared with you guys costs more than I'll make in 3 months on YouTube. And that's just the parts. But the customer paid for those parts. But I'm just making a point that when you consider the cost of these parts and the cost of the equipment and the cost of everything I'm doing to broadcast this to you, I'll make about 10% of that. If I bought this myself, it would be a year before I broke even, if I'm lucky. Because that assumes that the video sustains a certain rate of views throughout the year, and they don't. Videos spike when they're new, and then they just kind of, they drift down. And then you get a few views, you know, forever. And unless some big popular somebody tweets it or publishes it like in a news thing, and all of a sudden it could spike back up again, but then it'll go back down. So the way you solve that is you just have to have a bunch of videos. I estimate you need about 1,400 videos in your library to have a sustainable income on YouTube. And until that happens, I'll be working as a computer tech. And that's fine, because the minute I stop working as a paid computer tech, then I've just become an enthusiast like all the other ones, right? So, yeah. There's so much more I want to do to my channel. I would love to have a studio. I don't want to be in this kitchen filming, but a studio is going to set me back at least $1,000 a month. And then who's going to guard up my stuff to keep it from getting stolen when I'm not in the studio? And that means I have to generate even more revenue from YouTube to offset that expense. But as the channel grows, we'll hope one day we get there. But that's the reality of it. I do it for fun. I couldn't live off $1,400 a month. There's just no way. I mean, I could make my house payment, and that'd be about it. But no one seems to consider the expense of what it costs to make that. And it's really lopsided. If I wanted to just make a vlog where I just talk to the camera, that would generate the same $1,400 a month. No expense, just turn your cell phone on and talk to it. But good luck getting people that, you know, I don't know how guys like Casey Neistat do it, you know, but good for him. If I sound jealous, I am. He doesn't have any of the expenses I have. He gets all the money. He's a much smarter guy than me, I'll tell you that right now. Let's see how we're doing on our download. Almost halfway there. Oh, it's taking forever. Do you advertise on Craigslist? No, absolutely not. That's the last place. If you want to go to a bunch of customers that want to make you work hard and then try to negotiate down how much they're going to pay you for it and then harass you, they're the toughest customers. There are a lot of shady characters, and there are a lot of people that will waste your time as they squeeze you for information, basically, to tell them how to fix their own computer for free and not give you a dime. People will make an appointment and not show up, and that's a very common trait on Craigslist. That is not the kind of customer I want. I missed the non-live videos. You know, this channel will be filled with a mix of videos. You will see engine repair videos, you will see some cooking videos, you will see some life lesson videos, you will see a lot of live videos because they're faster and easier to make. And of course the edited videos like the interactive computer build, which are, you know, the interactive computer build. I want you to consider that that's about 3 weeks of filming 6 hours a day. And during that time, I generated no money with YouTube. It was all filming and editing, filming and editing, filming and editing, filming and editing, piecing it all together, grabbing the close-ups. It is an enormous amount of investment of time. Look at an average Hollywood movie and how long they take to make. The Avengers movies, you know, you're looking at about 2 years in production, and look at the list of credits of how many people worked on it. Now, I'm in no way in that company, but I just want you to grab the perspective that it takes 2 years to make a 2-hour movie. I've just put out 2 hours and 31 minutes in 2 hours and 31 minutes. So that makes the whole process much faster. I can get the information out quicker, and it's less discouraging, and I can get paid quicker, right? So as long as I'm spending time editing, I'm not making any money. But the fact is, if you do a really good job on the filming and a really good job on the editing, and then you release it, you could get lots more views. Could be a lot more attractive to more people and make even more money. But it's a gamble. It's a bigger gamble than this is. So the business side of YouTube, a lot of people don't talk about. YouTube doesn't like people to talk about it either. Go out and get some sponsors. I don't really want my integrity put to question. There are a couple of sponsors I wouldn't mind having. Companies like AData, Corsair, pretty much anybody you see me use, I wouldn't turn away as a sponsor. But then you get under certain obligations with sponsorships, where you're now obligated to release a certain amount of content about their product within a certain time frame, and if you don't do it, they're not going to sponsor you anymore. If they have a product you don't really like and you're less than kind about it, they don't like you anymore. They're not paying you for that. So by being independent and by buying things or having customers buy things, and I'm free to talk about them and I'm free to be honest. But when I do like a product, I do often reach out to the companies, and mostly they just offer to send me free product. But I don't want the product, I want some sponsorship. I wouldn't mind hanging or putting an AData logo on my screen if AData was willing to pay me, because I think they sell a very good value, reliable, good product that I could safely refer and recommend without feeling like I could damage my reputation. I can trust them. But without that, I don't have that risk. But I wouldn't just take any sponsor. I've had a number of people, some companies have reached out and asked, and I've just said it's not a good fit. And then I've asked other companies, and they say we don't do that, we don't sponsor videos. So it's somewhere, somehow, there's probably a manufacturer out there that shares the same values that I have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We just haven't found each other yet. And when I find that company that, shares my values and wants to get involved, I'm not opposed to sponsorship. It's just got to be from the right company. What is my profession? I've been in the IT industry for nearly 30 years. I've authored a book with McGraw-Hill. I've authored 2 books. I was a college instructor. I was a nationwide radio talk show host on technology for about 4 years. I do live presentations and education in front of live audiences. I'm a consumer advocate. I'll point out things to be warned of in the marketplace, from viruses and ransomware to scam callers and pop-ups to just look through my video library. There's quite a lot. I teach self-reliance. I show you how you don't have to depend on anybody but yourself. You are capable of amazing things. I hope to inspire people, and I hope to encourage people to greatness when perhaps in their world everybody tells them they're worthless. I'm here to tell you you're not. I'm here to tell you you're capable and you can do it, and don't let anybody tell you anything otherwise. And I guess I'm a YouTube influencer now, so you can add that to my resume too. if you search for my name on Google, you'll see I go all the way back to the beginning of the public access to the internet. You'll find articles by me. You'll find articles by me on Tom's Hardware, Smart Computing Magazine. I was a journalist. I exposed the leaking capacitor plague. If you go to the leaking capacitor wiki page, I'm highlighted there as the journalist who brought media attention to this. I was a major witness in class action lawsuits against the manufacturers. I'm very proud of that. That may be the thing I'm most well known for. Nobody knew about leaking capacitors until I brought it up. At that time, and the internet wasn't as big as it is now, I had the reach that nobody else had that was dealing with the leaking capacitor problem. And that led to a very interesting series of effects down the road. And it was just about raising awareness. This is wrong, it's unjust, the companies were denying it, they were denying anything was wrong, and I got really offended by it, and it motivated me to write an article, which you can find to this day. I think overclockers.com has it, I think. The articles I wrote for Tom's Hardware are still available today. The books that I published are still available on Amazon, but I wouldn't buy them because they're old. I mean, they're for Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows Millennium. They were translated. One was translated into Russian, so my book was translated and sold in Moscow in Russia, and my book was translated and sold in Saudi Arabia. And I have copies of those. I've shown them off, and it's all stuff I'm really proud of. I've worked for Intel. I've worked for the power company here in Arizona, the SRP and APS, the two big main power providers. I've worked for both of them. I've worked for the government. I've worked for the Department of Environmental Quality. And as a journalist, I've interviewed industry leaders. And I feel like I come across as a different kind of journalist because I'm a tech. So when I'm interviewing tech people, I feel like I'm asking them questions I wish journalists would ask. But a journalist is just a journalist. They're covering all different kinds of topics. I really enjoyed going to DEF CON in Las Vegas and talking to the FBI and asking them, why are you here? They said, we're here to recruit people. There's hackers here. We need hackers. I said, yeah, but are hackers really a good fit with the FBI? Because the FBI likes to have policies and procedures, and hackers like to do whatever needs to be done. That's a hacker's job. These two things don't mesh. And I don't think a journalist would know to ask that question. So I feel like the work I was doing as a journalist was motivated for the same reason I make my videos here on YouTube. Nobody else was doing it. And that's what I do. Carrie is a white hat. No, I was never, let's be clear, I was never a white hat. I was a black hat. We didn't call it that back in the day, but I was young and curious. Now I'm old and cautious. All them jobs and want more. The jobs I've talked about, there's a video called The Dark Side of IT. If you think there's a lot of money in it, if you think that that's somehow something to look up to, that you clearly have no idea what I did and the abuse that I had to take and how little I was paid for it. That's a terrible assumption to make about another person, by the way. I didn't do that to you, did I? I never heard about leaking capacitors. It was a huge plague. It occurred about 2003. I'm sure somebody can throw the link in there, the Wikipedia link to leaking capacitor Wikipedia page. I don't know who wrote it. I didn't write it, but I'm happy that I got credit for what I did. I'm surprised you don't have a Corsair sponsorship. I haven't asked for one, and they haven't approached me. 50 isn't old. Well, that depends who you ask. If you ask somebody older than you, they think you're young, and if you ask somebody younger than you, they think you're old. That's why I like to hang out with older, fatter people, so I feel young and thin. There it is. Z-Modem has posted the link, and John Davidson has also posted the link on leaking capacitors. I didn't even know that link existed until a couple weeks ago. I stumbled on it by mistake. But everything in it, I've read it, everything in it's true. It's all accurate. I should get a discount just for the volume of $200 cases I buy. Remember, the clients are buying the cases. So it looks like I'm buying them, and I am recommending them. But Corsair would have no way to know that, because the clients are free to buy them from wherever they source them. You know, they want to buy from Amazon, Newegg, whoever. You're just seeing what's been delivered. You don't know where it was delivered from. Nick Poverman says, I'll be 53 in 12 days. Well, happy early birthday, Nick. So somebody like Nick would say I'm young. Carrie, you're not old, you're a recycled teenager. Ooh, that doesn't sound like it smells good. Have you smelled recycled teenager? David Fredian says it's my anniversary. Congratulations, David. Nigel Marchant says, I'm 73. That's awesome. I have a lot of viewers in their 70s. I think it's great. You know, you guys in your 60s, well, mostly in your 70s that watch me, you didn't grow up with this the way I grew up with it, right? I was a teenager when the home computer became available. And that was a great time, I think, for me to shift and adopt this new technology while it was still young. Those people being born into it, I feel sorry for them because they don't know a life without it. And they think they feel sorry for me because they think, well, poor him, he didn't have this when he was younger. It's funny how perspective works. But when somebody is what we call a digital immigrant, that means they weren't born into it and they weren't really, they were already an adult by the time it had come out. They were already working in the workplace. They didn't have a lot of free time to sit here and play with this nonsense, because that's what it was, basically. The vast majority of people I meet in their 70s they're very insecure about their technical knowledge. And the fact that you're watching me and that you have that desire to learn, there are some people when they get older, they just go, I can't learn it. They've convinced themselves they can't learn it. And I have a deep, deep respect for people who continue to learn regardless of age. Don't let anything slow you down. There's nothing you can't learn. But what I can't do is I can't make you want to learn it. That's the thing. I can teach you if you want to learn it, but I can't make you want to learn it. All right, let's take a look here and see how we are doing. Let's go back over to that. Oops. I didn't want that. No. It's painful, isn't it? My 85-year-old mom watches you too. That's awesome. That is awesome. I always tell people I'm 73 this week and 2 to 10 next week. Scottish sense of humor. 2 to 10. 73, 2 to 10. I don't think I get that. Nicholas Irwin says, I'm 27 and I did not grow up with a computer. I don't think I've ever heard a 27-year-old ever say that before. Even when I was in high school, we had Commodore PET computers, and we had Apple II computers back in 84, 85. Milge06457 says, whether they say they can or cannot learn, they are right either way. That's a famous Henry Ford quote. Edgar says, hello from Monterey, California. That's a great place, Monterey. My wife and I had a great time in Monterey. We went to the aquarium there. It was a great restaurant there. Wonderful fish and chips. We went to Pebble Beach, which isn't too far from there. We did the horseback. We rode horses on the beach. There's a state park. I can't think of the name of it. We had a good time in Monterey. And then after we left Monterey, we went to Yosemite. Had a great time at Yosemite. That's a long drive, but totally worth it. Ronnie Kravitz says, I am 21 and I love being taught by you and you give me so much inspiration. I love the fact that we have such a huge age range of my audience. And the reason why I like it is there's nothing age or gender specific about computers. I'm afraid somebody young might look at me and go, well, he's just not going to get it because he's too old. He doesn't know what it's like. So it really makes me feel good to know that I can still connect with people younger than me. What's interesting, of course, as you age, if you're young, you may not realize this yet in life, but as you age, you don't feel older. So you see somebody 20 or 25 and you still talk to them as if you were equals, at least in my experience. I feel like in my life, when I was a child, I was talked down to. And when I became an adult, people started talking to me like an adult, regardless of how old the adult was. And I thought they were just respecting me. But it turns out they were just relating to me. They don't see themselves as old. They see themselves as the same as you. And so I see myself as the same as a 85-year-old woman or a 12-year-old boy, or, we're all basically the same. And we sometimes get put off by the way somebody looks. Well, that person's old or that person's young. And to some extent, there's some truth in that in some ways. There are certain stereotypes that exist for a reason. And it's my goal to shatter those stereotypes. I don't want to be predictable. And I very much would like to see more minorities. I want to see more women signing, watching and joining. We have a handful, which is great, but why is it so few? Why is this such a male-dominated industry? There's no reason it needs to be. This isn't football. The physical characteristics are irrelevant. And I'm starting to see it. There's more now than there ever have been, but it's still not enough. I'd like to see more of a 50-50 or 40-60, 30-70, percentage to male-female. I'd like to see more minorities. Why? Why is it so rare? I don't know why. But everybody who's interested is all welcome, regardless of age, sex, religion, gender identity. I don't care. If you care about computers, you're good in my book. Unless you're mean to people, and then you're not good in my book anymore. On average, women are less interested in technology. Yeah, I realize that now, but maybe the women the girls that are going to become women growing up with the technology perhaps will be more likely to embrace it. I hope. There's no reason not to. Everybody uses it, right? We all have smartphones, male or female. We generally all have computers, male or female. So why not take control of those things? Why should that be male dominated to just want to control it? That part I don't understand, because I know women like to control things as much as men do. I hadn't finished my sentence yet. How are we doing over here? Almost there. We're getting there. I'm trying to move aside so you can see the computer running behind me. Would the Gigabyte Z370 motherboard that I'm using here do just as well in a business environment? It would, but it would probably cost you more money than if you bought a motherboard that wasn't as fancy. You know, would a Ferrari deliver pizzas as well as any other car? It will, but it costs you a lot of money to do the same job. May not be the best, wisest way to spend money in a business, but you could. No, this computer is not being used in a business environment. The guy works for a business that I do work for. This is his home computer. And he does a little work on it, but no, he's not really using it for business. He's into photography and he's doing some video editing. And when I say he's into photography, I mean like he goes out for a weekend and comes back with 3,000 pictures. So, you know, there's a lot of photo editing and things like that. Big storage he needs. But it won't be used. This is not used for business. Now, the old computer, the one that he's giving to a family member, they do some work for him out of their home, but it's not major work. And what they're using now is fine, but he figures, let's give him the old one. You know, it'll be better than what they have. It's basically not costing him much, more than he's already spending anyway. And so it'll be used for some light work. What is my opinion on the upcoming GeForce RTX cards? It's hard to have an opinion on something that doesn't exist yet, so I will reserve my opinion until the cards become available and we see what the reality is. At this point, all you have to base anything on is marketing, and if you believe marketing, I feel sorry for you. I feel like my neck needs to crack. Ooh. It did. Now I can't feel my legs. Do I remember the Timex Sinclair? So the Timex Sinclair was a computer that you could build yourself for $99. They would send you the parts, or you could buy it pre-built for $149.99. And it was about this big, and it had little tiny keys that were membrane keys. It was a joke. No, I had a real computer. I had an Atari 400, and prior to that, I had a TRS-80 Model 1. These were real computers. That Timex Sinclair was a joke. Never owned one. That or Texas Instruments TI-99. And of course, the competitor with the Atari world, we have PC and Apple today. We had Atari versus Commodore. I was an Atari guy all day long. I have a video called How I Got Started. It gets a little personal. It gets into bullying and things I dealt with in high school and depression. If you're interested in how I got started, go back and look in my video library for How I Got Started. But I will warn you, it does get very personal. I didn't intend for it to, but there was a time in my life where I was very much struggling to survive, just to stay alive. Mentally, I was just being tortured by bullies, mentally, physically. Bullying is inhumane, and I have no doubt I suffer from PTSD from bullying. I just don't have tolerance for it. I'm a pretty patient and I'm pretty understanding guy, except when it comes to that, I will lose my, you know what, I will go off the rails when it comes to bullying. When I see it, I go crazy. It triggers me. So this is a lifetime effect that bullying has. And if you find that funny or in any way amusing, you're sick. See a lot of people identify with that. But I think one of the sad things about bullying is it can very much feel like it's just you and you're alone. That sucks. The truth is you're not alone. The truth is there's lots of other people going through what you're going through. And it's been, if you research it, it's been going on since mankind has existed. And from people you would least expect. There's other ways to communicate, and there's other ways to motivate people if that's what the goal is. Bullying to me would be like setting a firecracker off to somebody who just returned from a war with post-traumatic stress disorder. You wouldn't do that near them, and you would understand the reaction to it when you did. It's very much the same. I think one of the biggest problems that I dealt with, and I still see happening today, they just changed the phrasing of it. When somebody sees something, they just go, well, it doesn't involve me. Or maybe they see a kid at school eating lunch all by himself day after day after day, and they go, well, he's just being him. Let him be him. No, don't do that. If you are there and you see it and you choose to do nothing, you're as bad as the bullies. Maybe even worse. You're not being considerate by going, well, let you do you. No. So, everybody's allowed to have days where they want to be alone, but not day after day after day after day after day. That's the kid that's going to come into the school with the gun sooner or later. If there's going to be it, that's going to be the kid that does it. All you have to do is say, hey man, you can come eat with us if you want to. You don't have to say anything's wrong with them. You don't have to point out that they're eating by themselves. They're well aware of it. You just go, hey, if you want to sit with us anytime, you're welcome to. My name's Carrie, and we're just sitting right over there. So today, tomorrow, anytime, you're welcome to sit with us. And then go sit back down. Is that so hard? That's all you have to do. You can change somebody's life in a very positive way from that. My sister's friends thought shooting bottle rockets at me was cool. That's not cool, it's cruel. Yeah, I would say, I always work to try and be a better person. I can't get over I just lose it. I can't seem to get past it. It is forever indelibly left a scar within me that I cannot get past. And so when I see it, I'm intolerant to bullying. I am absolutely, and I try to work on it. I try to be more tolerant, but I just can't. I can't find any justification. I can't find any reasoning why I should. And I can't help but feel that empathy for the kid being bullied. I know what it feels like. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe there's just some people that don't know what empathy is. They just don't have the capacity for it, or they weren't taught it. Maybe it's something that's taught. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. And perhaps I have too much of it. This is why it's so important to me that we have a community and we build and we all get together and we all like this stuff because of the empathy. I don't know. It's a theory. But yeah, I've tried to overcome that and it takes me over. It just takes me over. I cannot deal with bullies. I just can't. It's just not in me. I have to snuff them out. It has to cease and stop immediately if I see it. I will stop everything. I could be on my way to the hospital having a heart attack and see some kid getting picked on. I will stop the car, get out, and address that. That's how affected I am. I think we got it. All right, let's try this and see if it's going to work. So we're installing the driver now, and then we will run the Heaven benchmark, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here we go. Let's do the install here. We'll just do the express install. Catherine says, I love the video Bren Brown did on empathy. You should watch it. I never heard of her, but sounds like a good video. I think one of the best examples of the effects of the long-term effects of bullying was exemplified really well in the movie Back to the Future, where Marty McFly's dad is a loser with no self-confidence and has amounted to nothing in his life. When Marty McFly goes back in time and addresses the bully, his dad turns out to be a successful and confident and successful adult. And I don't think that's far-fetched from reality. I really don't. JPH Hawaii Photos contributed $2. Hello from Hawaii. Have you heard of Sanyo computers? Well, Sanyo is a big electronics manufacturer. I remember I had a boombox in the 80s made by Sanyo. I haven't heard much from them since then. Oh, resolution just changed. That's good. Okay, I think we're good here. Let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to just restart, even though I don't have to. Well, or shut down. One or the other. Let's see how long this thing takes to boot anyway. You ready? You can see me in the corner. I'm going to hit the power button. Oh, it just now turned off. I'm going to hit the power button now. Here we go. It's pretty quick. Pretty quick. Now the Heaven benchmark should run. All right, let's see what it does now. I can't see anything. I gotta make my screen bigger. There it goes. That was quick. All right, let's start the benchmark. Here we go. I haven't maxed out the settings. I never max out the settings. I always run it with default so I can compare all computers equally. In other words, you know, if somebody wants to follow along and compare their computer performance to what I'm doing here, I don't want them to have to go through a bunch of menus and options. I want to make it as simple as possible. I like to be the king of simple. That's my goal. Is VSync on or off? I don't know. I didn't check it. It's whatever the defaults are when you install it. Windows 7 is still 40% of the market. They're going to let anyone pay them for security. That's not true. That is not true. Microsoft will let enterprise corporations pay per PC, but not consumers. Only enterprise corporations will be offered the option of paying to continue to use Windows 7, and each year the price will go up. Consumers will not be offered an opportunity to pay. Their support will end in January of 2020 as planned. Only enterprise customers will be able to extend Windows 7 support, not just anybody. And that price will go up each year. Do I get a notification in YouTube if you contribute using TechVets? No, that's going to go to my email, and then I will check my email a little later this evening, and I will respond to your contribution personally. I will respond to your email that was used in your contribution, and I will say thank you to you. And if you contribute $20 or more, I will ask you if you want a case badge, and if you do, to send me your mailing address. And then you have my email address from that point and forever, and then you'll be able to reach out to me. So it's a little more personal. When you do it here through YouTube, of course I give you a shout out, but I have no way of refunding your money if you wanted a refund. I have no record that you ever gave me the money. Once the video is over, there's no receipt. YouTube takes 30% of it, and it may be 30 to 60 days before I get it. So I much prefer the TechVets method, even though you don't get the shout out that way. It's more personal. Looking for a standoff socket screwdriver. What I did is I just bought a ratcheting screwdriver and I stuck a 5mm socket on the end of it. Carrie, just think what breaks us just makes us stronger. What about what breaks us and we die from it? What about the kids who kill themselves? What about the people who never amount to anything because of their lack of self-esteem from the abuse they sustained? No, I'm sorry, I can't go with that. If you're fighting a disease and you fought that disease and won, then you're stronger. But when you are under abuse for no good reason, and it's physical and mental abuse, that's a hell of a price to pay to be stronger. Unless you asked for it. You know, I will say to anybody who told me no in my life, thank you, it's because of them I did it myself. But no, you can't justify bullying like that. There's no good comes out of it. All right, there's our final results there, 284.9 on the frames per second. We have a score of 7177. And compare that to your rig. Feel free, go ahead. You can download everything you've seen me use here for free. You can run the same tests on your rig and see how your rig compares to this one using all the default settings. Ooh, I can hear those fans cranking up now. Still not too bad, really. Nowhere near the noise of old Thready. That Intermax 360 TR cooler is a wind turbine. The thing is just way too loud. All right, let's see if we can get out of this app. Let's close this down. What is it, F12? I can't remember. Oh, I gotta go up here to quit, I guess. Gotta make a screen bigger. Can't see. Quit. Okay. Escape. Close. All right, now what I have to do is do the cable management on this. I've got to get the drives hooked up, I've got to get the data transferred, and over here I've got to do the cable management over here, and I've got to reinstall the OS and get it configured. I'm going to try and do that tonight. Sorry, I won't be able to run this all on camera. Obviously this took longer than I thought it would because of the download speed. For whatever reason, I'm going to figure that out later as well. And I think we're going to wrap it up because we've been going on now. It's a little after 5 o'clock in the evening my time, and we're going on just over 3 hours, which I think is enough. So thank you guys for joining me on the feed, and thank you for all of your contributions and your support. I do appreciate it, and everybody supporting each other. That's the community I'm trying to grow here, and I hope that we continue to grow and expand and make new friends. I don't need to make any enemies. Let's try and make friends out there and know that we all have a very common interest in computers, and so that by default should attract us to one another as friends. And with that, and once again, to all my moderators for keeping it civil. I know it was a little crazy today. Thank you guys for staying on top of it. And that's going to wrap it up, and I will see you very soon. Remember, I have IL is scheduled to be here Monday afternoon. I was planning to go live at 1 p.m. Pacific time for him to build his own computer. He's never built a computer before, and I love it. I love it, love it. I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know if I'm going live tomorrow. I'm going to try and go live tomorrow. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I will see you all again very, very soon. And until then, bye for now.